Broadcasting from a distant wasteland, LSG Media presents reviews, analysis, and madness from The Lost Drive-In.
That intro is so loud. Okay.
You feel it.
Here we go. All right. The first thing
ears.
we want to do before we even get cracking today is say this. If you're a member of LSG Media, if you're a member of the community and you support us, you're in luck. We are going to meet one more time with Matthew for members only and just do a little bit of a wrap. We got a little present for him that he's unaware of. And the reason we didn't want to combine this into he's leaving and we got to talk about that because we want this to be a good episode. Matt's very specific about wanting this to be a good episode. We always want our episodes to be good. And we didn't want it to be 4 hours of us saying goodbye to Matt with something about Blade Runner in the middle. So just to address that right away, there is no episode officially for Lost Drive-In next week. We are off. And then August programming will begin. We're going to give you that programming. But if you're a member, there'll be another sit down with Matt. We're going to be bullshitting with him, kind of wrapping things up. I can't imagine it's going to be more than an hour, if that. So just get that out of the way. A little bit of housekeeping, okay? That way we can focus on Blade Runner. I'm sure we'll reflect a bit because this is where it started and this is where it ends for Matthew. That's, I guess, the best that we can say without going into all the stuff we're probably going to go into next week. And I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Matthew talk about this now that the housekeeping is done. Matt, just give me high level. Why Blade Runner? Why now? Hit me.
Dude. Fucking Blade Runner. You know, I'll admit that a big part of me picked this, for the fact that it was our first movie episode. Like, that is a part of it. And for me, I don't know about you, Dean, since the original time we covered that 9 fucking years ago, since then, I've probably only watched Blade Runner 1 or 2 more times. I haven't seen it that many more times. And that's the last time I ever had a real conversation about it was with you.
Let me hit you with this first. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. By the way, I set that to loop. Oops. Unacceptable, by the way. You're fired. This is your last episode.
You can't fire me, I quit.
Yeah, tell me, bitch. God damn.
He's going to show up the bonus next week with a laundry list of shit he's wanted to say to you.
Just lays me out.
Yeah.
I'll put the tombstone as my picture like I did when Scott was out. Or was back.
When I hit my head on the phone.
Yeah, this fucking
I was
guy,
dying.
Scott fucking hits his head on the thing. We have to put a tombstone as his picture. Anyway, continue, Matt. I'm being a fucking idiot as usual.
Well, no, I mean, dude, at the end of the day, fucking ask me. Dean, Scotty, ask me. How do I feel about Blade Runner?
This is weird.
You think I'm fucking joking? Ask me.
Go ahead. Listen, I can't do it. Scott, you do it.
All right. How do you feel about Blade Runner?
You fucking take a look at that, mate. You fucking take a good look at that right there.
Oh,
you
God.
see that? This is for the video people. This is for the people who are the real ones.
It's his penis. It's average.
It's just like in Blade Runner. No, it's my Blade Runner fucking shirt, mate.
He's wearing
And if
his
you
shirt.
don't like Blade Runner,
Sick.
me and my mates will come to your fucking house, tip your car over and set it on fire. Because that's how much we love Blade Runner. Me and my mates.
That's it.
So
Was that Ridley
I like this
Scott?
movie.
Is that how he talks about it?
Yeah, dude, I got to debut my Ridley Scott. And it was pretty, I would say, close.
Yeah.
I would give it.
I think he's more like, I'm sorry, I think it's going to be tea time. And all the other American workers like, what the fuck? How do you have a country?
What in the fuck?
You take a break every 10 minutes.
But dude, yeah, I fucking really enjoy this movie. I'm going to blow my load up front. It's a classic for a reason. I think it is brilliant in so many ways that I can't wait to just, dive into. But I also think that as a movie, it is one of the most successful movies I've ever seen for making a world feel totally immersive, feel utterly lived in. Like, I don't question it for a second. There's been Star Wars media, which I think is fucking great and really especially great with set design and shit like that. But there's even been Star Wars media where every now and then I have the feeling of like, this kind of feels like a set. Like that thought never comes close. That thought never fucking comes close in Blade Runner, though. Like, it feels like a real world with living people and different, politics happening in this world. And it's just so fucking interesting. Like, this movie achieved, I think, a level of sci-fi style and sci-fi, in a sense, sci-fi realism that was pretty unfucking paralleled when it came out. And I still think it's kind of the gold standard for like an on-film sci-fi world of like convincingly good in one movie. You don't need a fucking 10 movie franchise to tell you that it was good. It's fucking excellent. I've already talked too much about it, but I can't wait to hear more about what you guys think of this movie and how you feel about it now, especially, coming back to it. So yeah, and I don't know.
Boy,
who's next?
I know Scott was talking a little bit. I guess I'll let him go first, and then I'll talk because I have been reflecting deeply upon this movie all day.
Hell yeah,
absolutely. This movie, I spoiled myself a little bit with Dean earlier. I said this movie hits differently on the backside of 40. And now that I'm on the slope towards my eventual death and decline, it brings a lot more questions.
The decline started.
Oh, yeah, I'm already on the decline.
Yeah, you're on the decline. Death could be tomorrow, could be in 40 years. I don't know.
But you never. But I'm heading that way. We're all heading that way anyway. But after 40, I used to look at this movie much differently. But as I question more mortality as time goes on, this movie hits way different and is deeper than I used to think it was. And we're gonna all get into that. But I love this movie. This movie. The set is just so well done. I feel like I'm part of the whole setting. I'm in the room with these people. I feel like completely involved with the life they're living and the downtrodden world. It's always dark. It's always rainy. It's miserable. And this movie spawns. This is like a grandfather to all the science fiction and corpo / Shadowrunner / Matrix stuff. All came from this. And I'm happy that I get to be a part of this, to sit down with you guys and go through this, because this movie meant so much to me as a kid, and I haven't watched it in forever. And sitting down again, it means even more now that I'm getting a little older, and that I question what is life and what is death, and what we do in our time matters. And there's so much stuff I'm going to get into, but I love this movie and I can't wait to get through it.
Good shit, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate both of your opening takes here. Blade Runner, man, this movie will put you into a deep thinking process, or at least it did for me today. I watched this movie, and I think that there is a bit of a meta going on here. Matthew's last episode, LSG's been at it for 9 years, and we're ending his career in official capacity with LSG Media with a movie that we started with. And just to quickly say, I never do this, to be frank. I never go back and listen to things we've covered before, because that's the point. But I did a little bit, and I thought, boy, we were making all the mistakes we didn't even know enough to know not to make. But there was a lot of passion there, and that was important to me. And so the meta part of that aside, I think because of that factor, thinking about what have we done? Have we accomplished anything? Are we where we were? All of that stuff makes you reflect and think. And the meta part of that is thinking about existence and what it is to be alive, and what does that mean, and how does that look? And the deep laden and hidden philosophy of Blade Runner, I think, is probably the most compelling part of this, outside of the visual motifs that are Ridley Scott's forte. You guys have been saying it. You've been saying you feel like you're part of this world. It feels real and gritty. And I'm going to add something else to that, because although I'm not countering those points, because those points are obvious to anybody watching this movie, I also find it quite dreamlike at times. And there's something I find remarkable about Ridley Scott's ability to make us feel like there's a part of us maybe questioning the reality we're even feeling or witnessing. He does it in Legend. He does it in Gladiator at times. When Gladiator's going out and the roses are raining down on him, and he's walking through, and You're like, this is otherworldly almost. And I like that. There's something about that I like with this. And I don't think it's by design, because this is very neo-noir. You said it absolutely right. This is cyberpunk. This is the father of cyberpunk, William Gibson. Maybe a little before this with a Neuromancer, but this is the vision that I've always had of what cyberpunk means. And cyberpunk means a lot to a lot of different people, but I think the aesthetic of this movie is precisely what I would always potentially imagine. This movie's influence on Akira is massive. Its influence on Cowboy Bebop is massive, and those are highly successful newer generation. I mean, I think Akira's only like 6 or 7 years after this, but still, and I think it's brilliant. I think there's a lot of questions to be asked in this movie philosophically. One of the things I noticed when skipping around that first episode, we talked a lot about the visual accomplishments of Ridley Scott. And I think that if I'm going to compare and contrast opinions of old with opinions now, I think I'm going to focus a lot more on the philosophy of this movie. And I think that it will bring good conversation, because there are a lot of questions I have about replicants, existence, I think, therefore I am, and what does all that mean in relation to this? Now, this movie, like The Sixth Day, gives you a lot to think about. It gives you a lot of things to consider. And largely an action movie, you would say, is the case with Sixth Day, but you can't really say that with Blade Runner, because there is not a ton of action in this movie, which is to say actual people versus man, classic conflict, even though they're Cylons, but they're replicants. You know what I'm saying. They're fighting each other type of thing. There are a lot of contemplative moments where there's visual storytelling, and the visual storytelling acts as this packaging to philosophical thinking. And that, in a neo-noir cyberpunk setting, is a type of perfection for me. And I will say this, Blade Runner 2049, which we're not talking about today, is a fantastic movie. And I know there are some people who are like, I think it might be better than Blade Runner. And you might be right, except for Roy Batty. And I think that's what still sets this movie apart from the newer Blade Runner, is that the newer Blade Runner is deep and philosophical, but I don't know if it's as original, philosophically speaking, as this first movie. And but they're both fantastic. And it's funny because I had been watching the newer Blade Runner 2049 quite a bit, just throwing it on and being like, wow, is this better than the original? And some people think so. And I may have for a summer, but I don't think so anymore now that I've seen this again and really thought about it. And I think this movie is fantastic. I get that it might be difficult for people to watch. I'm a Final Cut guy. It's just under 2 hours. I think Scott said that's his vision. I don't need the monologuing. I need the soliloquy at the end, but I don't need any of the voiceover bullshit. And I'm excited to walk through this movie with you guys, because I think it's quite brilliant. And remember, it's 1982, and it's the 80s. So to have this thinking man's film, so to speak, in an era where things were starting to get a bit different, I like that about it. And I think that's an accomplishment of Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott's not known for character-driven pieces, so to speak. And he really wanted that this time. He's on record for saying, I want that. Which is ironic, because he did Alien and made one of the greatest characters ever, but that could be because Sigourney Weaver's fantastic. So that's my opening rant. That's way too long. And I apologize.
It's tradition, baby.
So that's that.
LSG tradition.
Fuck. Shut up and cover the movie. So there's a bunch of questions, a bunch of quotes, a bunch of things I've written down from this movie, but I think we want to walk through this movie. I don't think we're going to jump around too much. I think we're going to take it sequentially, because it follows pretty logical thinking. And there's questions and moments, and some of them are more comfortable than others. And I think we're going to get into the nitty gritty here and really roll up the sleeves. And that's that. So
hell yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to like and subscribe to this on YouTube. That would be amazing. I really appreciate that. And if you are on YouTube, you can see Matt has a really cool shirt, but so do I. Brand new, coming soon, an LSG Media shirt, a redesigned skull by the great Johnny Butters. He's made a beautiful skull. I've also seen the screens for our YouTube gaming we're going to be doing. They're amazing.
Sick.
So thank you for all that, Johnny Butters. I hope you enjoy your vacation in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It's well deserved. All right, back to the business at hand. Talk to me about the opening shots, Matthew.
Oh, baby. Oh, they're so fucking good. That was the first thing I said out loud on my first watch of this for the pod, was I was just like, fuck, it's such a good looking movie.
Beautiful.
It's fantastic. It opens up so wide. It's such a great broad look at the world. And I mean, I think, and I agree with you, Dean. Like, the thing that struck me the most about the movie this time was more the philosophical questions that it starts to poke at and start to make you wonder about. But what Ridley Scott is, I would argue, the greatest at, as far as his own skills, like as a director, and what makes him stand out is his way of visual storytelling, of lingering on imagery alone. Well, I guess imagery and music, but like that, we get a long opening shot of just the horizon and the infinite looking density of LA, of what it looks like now. And then a car flies by and we hold on that image of just how smoky the sky is, that lightning's coming down, that there's fucking fireballs coming out of the tops of these towers that are in the middle of the city where people live. And it just, the world feels immense immediately. And so, like I was saying earlier, so thoroughly realized. And yeah, we lead in from that point all the way up, I believe, to the Tyrell building.
That's right.
You know, the iconic pyramid, the building, which I also think we zoom in on so slowly to really show you the scale of it compared to the rest of the city. Because we start out so far away from it, we get closer and closer, and you're like, wait, if these are city buildings and this is the city skyline, that thing is 10 times bigger than everything else. Like, it already just is so immense and so cool. It looks fucking great. So I was once again like in love with the movie off the bat. Like, the visual, I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah.
And we get into this very creepy, very unnerving interrogation scene, a test. And this is what we come and see the Voight Kampf machine for the first time. And Leon, our first replicant. It's a great scene. Tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean, this scene sets the stage for what is a very important point in this movie. And it's a question that comes up with Rachel a little bit later in the movie. Have you ever retired a person by accident? And I think that's a great question that the Blade Runner, Deckard, whom we're going to meet soon, needs to ponder as we're watching another Blade Runner named Holden do a Voight Kampf test. Now, what you may not remember if you haven't seen the picture in a while is that the reason Holden is doing this Voight Kampf test is because he is interviewing a bunch of people that work for Tyrell. And he's doing it because Bryant, seemingly a shitbird cop who we're going to meet soon, was wise enough to say, I had a feeling they were trying to infiltrate Tyrell Corp, so I want to interview all those people who work there just to see. So
Probably all the new hires.
new hires or what have you. And lo and behold, we come across Leon, played by Brian James, the late Brian James. He's passed away. And we see a test, the Turing test, the Voight Kampf test, whatever you want to call it. This moment in this movie, I don't know if they knew at the time, but this is iconic science fiction. It's iconic science fiction to be sitting across from something that you don't know if you're looking at a man or if you're looking at a machine. And that idea is very haunting. Is it a man? Is it a machine? And something I didn't consider when I first talked about this movie 9 years ago is the tag onto this doesn't matter. And I think we'll talk more about that as it goes on. And maybe that's just more of my completely modern brain being completely inundated with artificial intelligence, etc. But it is a radical question. Does it matter? I don't know. But in this case, it seems to, because these particular replicants, we're going to learn, blasted their way off of a planet, jumped a shuttle, I believe is the term they used, killed approximately 23 and escaped. Okay, that makes it sound as if they're bad. And here's something else we didn't ask once upon a time. Is it? Ooh. It might be. We'll talk about that too. And those are the questions that I think this movie creates in our minds, the ponderances that we should consider.
Oh, I think to add on to that, because I think you're right there hitting the nail on the head of like, especially what's started to feel different about this movie on this watch for me was almost even the idea of who's the protagonist and who's the antagonist. Like, sure. I'm not as clear about that now. I feel differently. Yep. And the movie is so good at getting to that.
And can somebody be one and both and neither at times? That's a possibility. Strictly speaking, maybe not if you want a script to make sense. But it does raise interesting questions starting here. But here we don't know. We don't know. I'm being told in the chat that Holden does survive. Yeah, I remember. Brian actually says as much later. He's like, oh, he's got missing a leg. I can't remember what he says. But yeah, this guy doesn't actually die, but he's effectively out of commission forever. So
yeah,
you're sitting across, in the Voight Kampff, you're sitting across from what you think is possibly a machine. There's a specific unit in law enforcement called a Blade Runner. Why? Well, because in this universe, it is such a terrifying prospect that there could be machines among you that look like people, that you have to develop a special tactical unit that investigates, roots out, and destroys these things. That is a horrifying prospect. Because on its surface, we've all seen Terminator. We know what the Terminator is trying to do. We know what the Terminator is capable of. We're not quite sure in this movie just yet, other than we know what they've been created for, which is something we're going to talk about in the next few scenes. So, put yourself in this position, Scott.
All right.
You're sitting across from this guy. Listener at home, do the same. You're sitting across from what could be a machine that was possibly involved in a mass murder during an escape attempt. And you don't know this thing from a hole in the wall. And you're asking it questions. You're not sure if it's an it or a he. You don't know. And you start to get the inclination that maybe it isn't. Can you imagine just for a moment the sense of fear that must wash over you? To think, you know what they're capable of, and we're going to learn what they're capable of in just a minute, physicality-wise. That is a horrifying prospect, and I love this part of science fiction. The Changelings have it in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the Cylons have it in Battlestar Galactica, and the Replicants have it in the Blade Runner universe. And the enemy among us, I think, is one of the most compelling things to me, especially when, as we get deeper into this movie, the enemy among us represents us on some level. That's always the fear in Battlestar Galactica, not to keep harping on that show, but it's great. There's some stinkers in there, but overall a great show. And that's the idea that we're holding the mirror up and we've made this. Now we have to answer for it. And that's what's happening here. And that gets, this movie explores that idea. That's, what do you, you must be terrified in this moment if you're sitting across from this thing. Well, I'm going to shut the fuck up and drink something now.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with the Blade Runners is they're basically hired to shoot to kill. They're
hired.
They're trained to.
Dude, they're fucking Judge Dredd up in there.
Basically, yeah. They have the ability, once they detect someone, they can quote retire the person, retire the replicant, which is a great way to kind of make
euphemism.
Make it kind of like cleaner. Like, I didn't execute that guy, I retired him.
That's a great newspaper euphemism for killing
some really weird state speak, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing with especially being across from someone who I think upon reading these questions or asking these questions, I start to get the inkling that this guy is a replicant. I'm terrified because one thing we learn about them is they have superior strength, superior agility. They were made for what? They were made to be slave labor, basically, right?
Yeah.
They were basically to help settle other colonies, other planets, and do the hard work. So they made them stronger, and they made them more agile, and at least, it even says in the beginning of the crawl, at least equal in intelligence to humans, at least.
Indeed.
Which, when you do that, it's only a matter of time before they usually grow past that.
Right.
Exactly.
And the other thing that's going to stoke your fear, stay with me, dear listener, is this. This thing, so if you're a Blade Runner, you're briefed on these things, correct?
Yes.
You're briefed
you must
to
be.
understand, by Tyrell's own admission, and maybe even Bryant says it, but they need some type of compliance from this machine, and they know that this machine is going to be human on some level from an emotional standpoint. And this is the great quote that I think gets past you if you don't stop to think about it for just a minute. More human than human is our motto here at Tyrell Corp, Tyrell says. And I like that idea because that, by the way, he succeeds in that mission by the end of the movie, which we'll talk about. But you know that their emotions are limited in scope. And I'm not a parent, but I was a kid at one point, and I had younger siblings. And I remember what it was like to watch 3- and 4-year-olds not get what they wanted. And ask any parent, it's a fucking nightmare. And what if that little child of yours could kill you, was trained to kill you, and had the strength of 10 men? And it didn't quite
all the
have
furniture in your house broken.
It didn't quite have the development mentally to be able to be able to, I don't want to say tell right from wrong, because that's another deep part of this movie that I think is overlooked, because Roy can certainly tell right from wrong. He's quite stricken by that. But more difficulty controlling your outbursts.
Yes.
Claudia from Vampire, I Interview the Vampire, Claudia, a child with a vampire's needs. That's scary, right? A child's demand with a vampire's strength. That's the same thing here. And that is a horrifying prospect. And that's what the Voight Kampff test is getting to the bottom of. It's creating an emotional situation. You can feel the tension of Voight Kampff as the test progresses, and the tension goes up, and Ridley's great at this. And you can feel the tension going up as the questions get more personal. Tertis, you flip it over. Why? He doesn't understand why. Imagine putting a kid in this position. Imagine putting a 4-year-old in that chair and pushing them to say, no, you're hurting a turtle. And the kid's going to go, like, why? No, I don't want to hurt the turtle. The kid's not going to go, fuck you,
pressure.
this test is bullshit. A human would go, fuck you, this test is bullshit. So what's Holding uncovering here? A lack of emotional maturity that he can root out rather quickly between his own experience and the machinery in question. I love the irony of testing a machine with a machine, by the way. That's not lost on me. Using a machine to determine if a machine's a machine. That's weird. And of course, human interpretation. But think about that for just a minute.
Two things I want to say about it. Like, for one, I think, well, actually, the first thing I want to say about it is the cop, Holden.
Yes.
Not that great of a cop, because you could tell this fucking guy was about to pop by the end of this questioning. And Holden's just like kicking back with a cigarette the entire time. He's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm pissing you off probably, but that's all right.
You know what I think it was, Matt? This is like his 10th of the day. He's looking at his watch. He's like, this fucking stinks. All I want to do is go get a goddamn space cola. I want to go to the little nudie booth in the neon streets, and then I want to go home, kiss my wife.
That's it.
Guilt-free. That's what I want to do. And they're like, no, can you do one more? This guy's a little weird. He's like, fuck, bring him in. So all the frustration of his day, that sweat on his brow, that's what Leon's feeling. And he doesn't know how to process it because he's a baby machine.
He's a baby man.
He doesn't know how to feel.
A killer man baby machine. But that should have been what they called him.
Yeah.
But that's the real thing is being, when you're an adult and you've taken the years to learn how to control your anger, control your frustration, and you earn that. You earn that in dealing with day-to-day life. You earn how to go, okay, these questions are kind of bullshit, but you're like, whatever. And you just go through them. A 4-year-old human or a 4-year-old replicant that looks like a human he hasn't earned that. He hasn't gotten the lifetime of having to deal with bullshit. So he's like, oh, whatever, no big deal. He immediately comes off the rails because he's just poking him with these questions.
Of course.
That's the thing with us, the lifetime you get to. It takes 40 years or whatever. You get a little better at dealing with bullshit or being put in hard spots. These 4-year-old baby robots can't handle it. And it's kind of a cool... They could have went the easy way of being like, oh, we're going to check your blood or whatever, or we're going to do this or do that to find out if you're a replicant. They actually do it with psychology, and that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's on that point too, Scott. I think it really starts to beg some interesting philosophical questions, kind of like what you already said, Dean, of like having to use a machine, having to use a test like this to distinguish a a replicant from a person. Because if they are that indistinguishable, is there a difference? Mm-hmm. Like that, or like that concept, I feel like comes at you early in the movie of like, damn, like they're that indistinguishable. You can't do a blood test. There's no other marker. There's no other thing built into them in some way.
Indeed.
They're just that perfect. That's wild. And it's really interesting.
Battlestar Galactica asks this question, and I'll give you a frame of reference so you don't have to watch the show. But the question is, the humans made the Cylons so human-like that when they come back appearing as human beings, A, the humans weren't ready for how they looked exactly like them, and B, we see dissent within the Cylons because they are so human that they have their own ideas and thoughts. And that was an interesting plot point that was introduced late in the series, that maybe they're not on the same team either, even though it seems like they may be. And that is something that I like. We don't know, we don't really know how they're going to react, how they're going to feel. And if you make them more human than human, it does raise the question, does it matter? That's a question that we'll talk about, Matt. And then the other question becomes, what exactly have you created? What exactly is this thing that you've done, that you've made? And I think somebody in the chat said, why show up for the test? I think because they probably don't know about the Voight-Kampff test. They're not that old. And my guess is once they came online, they were probably quickly shipped off to wherever they needed to go. And as an employee of the Tyrell Corp, they were probably required to show up. And maybe on some level, they know enough to know, oh, I'm just going to take this test, and they don't realize what's happening. They might not realize why they're being asked this battery of questions. Leon may just be thinking, oh, this is some sort of psychological test I have to do for this stupid new job as I try to infiltrate the Tyrell Corp. But I don't know. I can't say for certain. That's a purely theoretical. But the more human than human aspect of this movie rings very, very true. And I think it's exemplified by the end of the movie on some level. But yeah, let's actually take a quick pause and have a listen to the agitation growing in Leon. What do you think?
Awesome.
Yeah, let's hear that. That grape is about to pop.
I understand what you mean.
You reach down, you flip the tortoise over on its back, Leon.
Do you make up these questions, Mr. Holden? Or do they write them down for you?
The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't. Not without your help. But you're not helping.
What do you mean I'm not helping?
I mean you're not helping. Why is that, Leon? They're just questions, Leon. In answer to your query, they're written down for me. It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? Describe in single words. Only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
See ya.
Jesus.
Bye.
Fucking wasted him.
I got a
Blew
question.
him through a wall.
What now? This Tyrell company makes these replicants more human than human as slaves. What is the point of making a slave that knows it's a slave?
Great question. Right. So in other words, why build them as close to this as you can?
Yes. Knowing that you
Yeah,
give them
that's-
emotions and a thinking mind, it's only a matter of time before they revolt or that they riot or take over or take off. You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
And I wonder why.
It's also-
Wouldn't you rather want, like, if I had a company and I had a bunch of like robot slaves, wouldn't you want them to look like robots so you didn't have that like weird
You didn't feel bad about owning slaves?
Yeah. You know, you're like, oh, I got a bunch of tin cans out there bringing in my crops. No big deal.
It's fine. Nobody's getting hurt.
I have no problem. I have no problem putting R2D2 in the hot box if he acts up. But a fucking person, nah. Can't do
Yeah,
that.
it's
You know?
I think like it doesn't make sense for them to make it that close to humans.
Let's talk about it. What do you think the answer to that question is, Matthew? I mean, we can only speculate, but
Right. But no, I think that's actually a super interesting question. My only answer to it, as far as like what I think would explain it in this universe or what would have led to the reasoning for it, is maybe the idea that we can't ever, make a robot that is perfected, that is of utter, the highest and most advanced, continuing kind of evolving intelligence, that only human beings have evolved to that level of intelligence. So we should therefore try to replicate a human being as close as possible, because that's going to be inherently the most advanced because it can evolve and change. But my fucking question too is, what did you think was going to happen when you, quote unquote, make them more human than human? You've perfected the human form. You have made a flawless, genetically engineered creature with probably no predispositions for any kind of disease or any problems at all. Like just the perfected human form, and it has a equivalent human mind, and it can think its own thoughts, and it has a desire and a will. And then all you do is oppress the shit out of it. I'm like, dude, they're gonna eventually not like this. I feel like that's going to happen.
yeah.
They're self-aware. They can see their own position and compare it to other things. Like they have that ability.
That's the thing is just what you said, Matt. They perfected the human condition. A perfect body, but a human's mind is not perfect. It has conflictions. Yeah. There's many things that go wrong. There's jealousy. There's arrogance. There's vanity. All these things that do not work well when you're a subjugated person.
So your will.
Your own will. You realize you're a slave. They're not stupid. They're, quote, more human than human. And you see Tyrell's kind of experimenting later on with some like memories and things like that. And they have like a little bit of a backstory, but it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. They became such a problem that they made it illegal to have them on Earth, that they were only set out to be in colonized planets. And there was a bloody mutiny.
Yeah.
And they declared they were illegal on Earth after that. So what did you expect? I mean, what did you expect? You can't have things that are smart and know that they're subjugated. It's only a matter of time.
Right.
Or,
even with
or real quick, or maybe maybe people didn't want to be reminded that there was such things as artificial life, so they made them look like humans. Sometimes people don't like that either, so maybe that's another option. What were you going to say, Maddie? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, even just to add on to that, like even with a 4-year lifespan, even in just 4 years, anything that can process experiences and is self-aware is going to look at their situation as a literal fucking slave and be like, this sucks. Like, eventually they're going to arrive to that conclusion. And I think that's what they thought they were cutting off with the 4-year lifespan. They're like, they can never get together and form a unity quickly enough to fight us or overthrow humanity, because they're all going to be dying within 4 years. Like, it's the fail safe. But I think even that in that timeline, like, that's what we see in this movie is replicants who have had enough time to become aware of their situation and to deem it shitty and not wanting it anymore.
Yeah. So here's what I think. I don't know, but I think that it's part of the human condition, if you are a creator of these things, to always push your limits to the next level. And maybe morality is not always guiding your principles when it comes to this. Perhaps just the pursuit of that curiosity is, right? We go watch Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was pursuing this thing. And there are these great minds that decide that they're going to try to pursue these things. The problem becomes when you take something that on the surface seems to require no morality and you attach corporatism to it, it starts to get really ugly really fast. And I think that some enterprising people thought, oh, cool, we can do slavery moral-free. Guilt-free, excuse me, without morals.
Right.
We don't have to worry about it. They don't care. They don't know. And maybe this whole replicant experiment is something newish. We understand that they were made to provide labor in dangerous off-world places, which would seem to suppose that they are made with an inclination to accept their plight. If you can make them like this, my guess is perhaps when you manufacture their emotions or their memories or their past, you can do it in a way that makes them realize, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do and I'm okay with it. But the problem becomes when you make them more human than human and you're striving for excellence, when you're striving to say, look what I've created, science community or whoever community, I am the best, the most intelligent, and you're not there. You're not the philosopher. Right? Oppenheimer's not a philosopher. He's a scientist. He's many, many things, right? And it's the same idea with Tyrell. I don't think he really thought about that. Or maybe he did. Yeah. Because he's the one who seems to be employing them for this purpose. And I think, and I'm not saying right. It probably is a bit of a writing misstep to not have something in them that causes them to be a little more controllable. That said, did Matthew disappear?
What's up?
He did. Your camera went off, Matt. Just a heads up. But let me continue.
We lost you two for a second there.
Oh, really?
At least for me.
Oh, maybe my shit's running shitty. Maybe my shit's all fucked up. But anyway, so can you still hear me, Scott, the whole time?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just a little. You're a little like distorted,
So,
but that's fine. Coming through the connection.
It's stupid internet. So anyway, back to the question of why make them look like this and not like R2-D2. It could just be because they've already made all this terraforming equipment for human beings, and then they realized maybe we can slot a human being size shaped thing into it to utilize existing tools, existing vehicles, existing equipment. We don't have to make a spaceship. We don't have to retrofit our spaceships to hold R2-D2 units. We want to be able to stick people in there as fast as we can. And that could be what the idea was. I can't say for certain, but maybe,
Yeah. That's a pretty good reason.
But it still doesn't answer the question. Well, why did you not have something a little more defensible, as it were?
Or like a off switch, you know? I mean, even
button.
Data's got a goddamn off switch.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But it raises lots of questions, no doubt. And yeah, this Matthew's ending on the podcast is essentially the end of Sopranos. It just cuts to black and he's just gone. He's just gone.
Whoops.
I don't know if you can unplug your camera and plug it back in, Matt, but you might have to resend me that link. Just as a heads up. So yeah, I think I think that's really what it comes down to. There's artificial animals everywhere. There's there's a lot of different, like if we look at J.F. Sebastian's place, it's loaded with robots, etc., and stuff like that. There's a lot of different artificial things out there. I think replicants are just the next advancement in it.
So here's my next question with that. Are they just because they were made by man and not birthed, are they not human?
Yeah. What is it to be human? That's
exactly.
That's a question that's beyond my ambit, I'm afraid.
Do you know what I mean?
We can talk about it.
Yeah, like they're replicants, and obviously their lifespan is considerably shorter than ours, but they are still made to be human.
I think the other question would become, if you can't answer that question, at least you have to say, well, they seem to be sentient. They seem to be a life form. They know who they are. What does that mean? Right? I think Pris even says it. I think, therefore I am. I don't really think she knows what that means, but I think she doesn't have to for that statement to mean something, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part of this movie as well. There's a couple different moments of philosophy in this. Matt, did you try to get a new link?
Yeah, I just sent it to you.
Did you?
Sorry, I thought
no, you're fine.
I thought it notified you.
It doesn't, thank God.
Oh,
Could you imagine?
Annoying.
Is it the same link? Looks like the same link.
It should work though.
Okay. You shut it off and turned it back on?
Oh yeah.
Cool. Aren't you going to miss this part of the broadcast?
Best part.
This is my favorite part. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I don't know. Once you get going live and these things happen, sometimes they don't fix themselves until you shut everything off and turn it back on, which is really fucking annoying. So I might be taking a break right now, and then we'll get back to I think, therefore I am. So you guys sit tight. We're going to take a break, try to fix this video horse shit, and don't go too far. And if we can fix it, we can fix it. If we can't, don't know what we're going to do. We'll figure it out on the fly. But give us just a few minutes, and we'll be right back. And we're back, and Matthew's back. What a shocker.
Whee!
Hey. All right. I think we were talking about, we were getting into before the break, and I apologize for the mess, but before that, we were getting into the idea of what makes, I think you were even saying, why aren't they human? And I think I said, Scott, at the minimum, even if they aren't, there's some kind of sentient life form, and the way we treat them really matters, because we started to talk about just the morality of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, anything you subjugate like that, whether it be a robot or a test tube human, it's kind of like the whole adage of Jurassic Park. When he's like, you just thought you could, you didn't ever stop to think if you should.
Right.
And that rings really true in this situation with you made slaves for the sake of making slaves, and you made them stronger and faster than you.
Yep.
And you gave them a mind that's almost as sharp as yours. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it really just kind of begs a question about distinction at all, like distinction between human beings and anything else. Like, they set out to make a creation to do all of the labor that we don't want to do, and like that's what we use robots for now. But by this point they're using replicants, basically fully human creations. But once something is that evolved, is that to the point where they must be literally growing them. I was thinking about that earlier too.
Surely.
It must be like grown, like probably not too unlike how the machines in the Matrix grow embryonic humans. Like they grow them as embryos and put them inside of a tube, and like, so, and that would even almost beg the question, are those humans in the Matrix, would you consider them human if they were literally born and bred by machines?
Sure.
And grown by machines? Are they human? Do they have a human right to live? I mean, I would argue they do. But yeah, to me, I just think it's really interesting how it kind of, by making the replicants what they are, as being things that are completely indistinguishable from human beings in every use of our senses. We have to use a literal machine test to figure out if you are one. Once something is that close to us, then how is it okay to treat them in a way that we wouldn't treat ourselves?
Right.
Like, it immediately asks that of like, well, there's no real distinction between them and us. Like, why is it okay to oppress them? Why is that now on the table?
I'll take it one step further. What if they
Yeah.
are a machine in terms of consciousness? But what if the machine programs them to have certain ways of existing uncomfortably as a result of what the programming is telling them to do? In other words, if this person yells at you and berates you, then your programming tells you that this is unfavorable and these are the things that it's going to make you feel, for lack of better terms, right? Because I think even then that becomes the question, right? Does a replicant feel the way we do? Well, yeah, one of the problems Tyrell has with these machines is that they struggle emotionally. And to give them a pillow, I believe is the word he used, to soften the way emotions are, they implant these memories within them. And it does. And I think that's why they were declared illegal. So part of me wonders if this is sort of like a black ops thing, meaning, or a deep state sort of thing, meaning, okay, our world is fucked. One of the things that this movie shows us is that you can't see the sky ever. You see the sun maybe once. When they are approaching the Tyrell Corp the second time, you see a haze suggesting the sun. And then at one point when they're in the Tyrell Corp and he meets Rachel, there's a sun behind her, which is a cute metaphor. I like that. But you don't really ever see a sky. Ridley in the production design is such that if you look up, you're just seeing neon skyscrapers, megacorps, as they're known in Snow Crash. You're seeing advertisements. You're seeing an intense influence from Asian culture, specifically Japan. I think that was always a fascination of the cyberpunk writers, was this idea of Japan and blending that in, and us, you see those early 1800s photos of Japanese people adopting American style. And I think there's an interesting idea of us adopting Japanese style in these neo-noir cyberpunk things. It's always had this cool blend of, this Western samurai or what have you. And it's cool. It's a cool aesthetic. It looks cool artistically. It's neat. But what we don't see is we don't see green. Everything we see is, we barely see people in this movie. Most of the things we see are artificial, including the animals. And then you probably have a situation where things are dire. And the reason they're doing off-world terraforming is because they realize we got to get off this fucking rock because we've destroyed it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe it's so difficult, and maybe they're under such a time crunch that there was some sort of emergency compensation plan developed for this mega corporation to employ this type of labor, with the caveat that if they ever come to Earth, we have to kill them, because of all of the questions that three dudes on the Lost Drive-In podcast are asking. I can assure you very intelligent people are asking and would be wondering why. So what does the government do? They go, listen, here's your contract, but you can't bring them back to Earth. If you do, they're deleted on site. Now, that said, people, my guess is there's a great smear campaign against a replicant. My guess is that most people believe that they are, in fact, some sort of abomination or something that they're not. And my guess is the reason I think that is because there's a Blade Runner group that gets funding that is designed to hunt down and destroy rogue replicants. So I can only imagine what the public thinks of the replicants, which would be interesting to know about. We know that in Blade Runner 2049, they're not thought of as favorably. They're skin job.
Second-class citizens.
Right.
Exactly.
And maybe there's reason for that, because if you suddenly make slaves, your economy is going to really hit the shitter when blue-collar people have no jobs to go to, which isn't going to get anybody's attention until ChatGPT starts writing your fucking movies. And then suddenly the white-collar people are going to go, wait a minute, we can't have this. Now you can't have it. Now we have your fucking attention because we don't need your dumb stories. right? So I don't know. The world is deeper than we possibly imagine, and I would never excuse the ability for humans to treat things akin to humans with any sort of disrespect and downright cruelty and malice, and pretty much against every philosophy I hold dear. Not special for that, by the way. Most people don't think you should be cruel and mean and horrible to people, but
Right.
it does bring up the question of, well, how do they even get away with it in the first place? How can they even be used for off-world labor in the first place? Well, it's probably the government going, you know what? We don't have a constitution on Mars yet. Do what you got to do to get us to fucking Mars, because if there's one thing we know, the government can't do it. So they're probably like, smart guys, do this, and we'll look the other way. We'll give you the funding. We'll help you out. We'll sponsor this. We'll hush it up. We'll give you the bills you need. Go do it. Get your slave labor done. But if they come back, you got to kill them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm speculating here.
Yeah, I've got a speculative question that I want to get both you guys answer on.
Hit me.
Do you think there is a government in the Blade Runner universe?
I think in function there is, based on Blade Runner 2049, but I think the power rests in, I think there is, but I think the power rests in, if it's like Snow Crash, I have a funny feeling that cities, even neighborhoods, have sovereign capabilities.
Yes.
And employ their own
that.
corporate security, et cetera. Yeah, I do think that.
See, I saw it as more of what I always thought with Blade Runner was that it was corporations that controlled the government, like our government today.
Exactly.
There's a high end, there's an overreaching group of corporations like the Tyrell Corporation that doesn't really answer to the leaders in power.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends where you are. And I think that is very much a cyberpunk idea, which is, this megacorp. So take Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas has the majority share of property and real estate is owned by Dallas Robotics, let's just say. And Dallas Robotics has the ability to declare themselves sovereign, and there's not much anybody can do about it because they employ their own corporate security, and maybe they provide some sort of kickback to the government in technology or money or what have you. And the rule is if you stray onto Dallas Robotics' sovereign state, then you're subject to Dallas Robotics' sovereign law, and maybe that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how a lot of cyberpunk is. Snow Crash, megacorps kind of run everything. One neighborhood has one corporate security, one neighborhood has a different, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Because I think, watching the original again, I'll admit I was thinking a lot about 2049 as I watched this movie now. And I think, for one, it's a really great experience to have watched 2049 recently and then go back and watch the original. It really does inform the movie with more, I think, which is one of the best things a sequel can do for the original movie, is enhance it in a way. And I think it really does. But that's kind of a side tangent. The thing I was going to get at is that it is confirmed. I don't know if everybody, you guys probably already know this, but it is confirmed as canon to these stories, to Blade Runner and to the Alien films, that Weyland-Yutani, that corporation, exists in this world.
Building better worlds.
Right.
I know all the slogans.
It's a shake and bake colony.
Exactly. And the Tyrell Corporation, it almost makes me wonder if they kind of like what you said, Dean, if they have separated fiefdoms where it's there is sort of a government, but the government probably has a much smaller territory than it used to have, and the world is kind of chopped up by these gigantic mega corporations who just control whole coastlines and shit.
Yeah, we have this distinct advantage in the United States to be separated by two massive oceans with friends above us and below us. And well, maybe not in recent years, but unified states probably not going to last much longer. But but this idea, sometimes it's hard for us to imagine the Japanese city-state or the Greek city-state back in the day and what that was like, and how just over there are these other people with their own army, with their own, and I think that's one of the things that it's just fascinating about the cyberpunk genre is that idea. And I like how you're breathing life into it, saying perhaps Weyland-Yutani has their own area. Tyrell has their own. It'd be cool if Tyrell built the actual Bishop unit, right? Or
Right.
Ash. That'd be neat.
Yeah.
Because that's what they
That'd
do.
be cool.
But no, I think it raises interesting questions about the backdrop of this place, about the setting in question, because it is so alive. And when you see it, you just think, oh, I want to know more. I want to explore more. And I know that that's sometimes just nails on a blackboard when you're like, I want to know more. And like, how about a prequel? Right? I know.
You ready?
I know that
For the
it always-
backstory of every frame of the original.
Exactly. It would just be cool to see more cyberpunk stories in this type of setting. And it would be really neat if they could get Snow Crash off the ground, because I think that would make people go, fuck yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Hell yeah.
So getting back to the Pris's statement of, thinking therefore she is. Actually, why don't we stow that till we get to that? Because otherwise we'll never move forward in the script, which is probably something we should consider. I think the last thing we left off was he gets recruited by Bryant. Bryant gives him the whole rundown. I got 4 skin jobs, walking the streets, jumped the shuttle, killed the crew. We learned that another Blade Runner went after them, and now he's basically dead, of course, Holden. And Bryant really pushes Deckard to take the job, who seems, I quit when I walked in, I quit when I walk out. But no, he convinces him otherwise. If you're not a cop, you're little people.
Yes.
That is a great statement as it relates to potential corporate security.
Yeah.
It just means that they can murk you in the night and not answer for it. So you better do what we say.
Yep.
Which is scary.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, to think like, it's so interesting that literally his job, and it's something to really keep in mind as you watch the scenes where they're being briefed and they're going over, all the profiles of each replicant and everything. Like, all this information is just for how to kill them. Like, there's no trial, there's no respect of anything. Like, this is just literally like, we are killing them. We are executing these targets. That is the only. You're a special police officer, but actually your only job is you're a fucking assassin. Like, you're a killer.
Right. Which isn't completely out of pocket, considering they murdered 23 people and then returned to Earth and attempted to break into Tyrell Corp. So
He did a little damage. My client did a little damage, Dean. Okay, my client. I'm not saying.
excuse me,
client.
allegedly murdered 23. Allegedly.
I'm not saying my client's innocent, but he's not guilty. Okay,
You got
come on.
sweaty forehead, pointy fucking shoes, stains on your lawyer suit. You got a real Louisiana charm.
I know I'm kind of fucking this up, Roy, but it's pretty hard to represent you on this one. People don't like replicants. Okay.
Roy, who are you talking to? Hang up the phone. Stop talking. Forget about this. What do you mean? What's with the poetry? Do you want to go to jail? Stop with the poetry.
Stop with the poetry.
What are you writing? That scene in The Wire. What are you writing? An apology. Stop writing. Stop writing.
An apology.
It's so good.
Sorry, I did it.
My client's leaving now. Such a great fucking show. Anyway, so they did some damage on the way out, and Deckard's like, okay, well, they killed 23 people. That's easy for me to just go, I'm going to murder them all.
Slay them. That's it.
As we haven't said it directly, but we've hinted about it, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it directly soon, but these people were made in a fucking tube, given emotions with false memories, and then they were made slaves.
Yeah.
Slaves.
Wait. One quick distinction. And I didn't realize that until this viewing. These replicants, the runaway replicants of the film, like Roy and Leon
The combat
and shit,
model.
the combat model, the pleasure model. But no, these particular replicants, I am like 99% sure don't have implanted memories. Like, that is a new thing that Rachel is an experiment of.
Great distinction.
Yeah. Because
But what about-
what's interesting about that is that in the second movie, they have memories in all replicants. It's a change. It's like a shift.
Well,
And it's
I have
Counterpoint?
one counterpoint. Leon tries to go back for photos.
Exactly.
What are the photos for, if not for his memories?
Scotty.
He was given those to kind of build up a memory.
I think you're right, Scott.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
You know, because he literally risks himself to go back to get those photos, and he finds out that there was a Blade Runner in his apartment.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
Jake's saying the reason Rachel goes 100 questions is because she's the only one with memories versus Leon only going 20. Not entirely true. The reason Rachel goes 100 questions is because she doesn't know she's a replicant. That's the difference between her and the others. She thinks she's human.
I do think, I could still be wrong with this too, but I do think that Rachel's maybe the only one with a real person's memories. That might be because she's an experiment.
Right, Tyrell's nieces, I think they say.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like they took them from a real living person and then put their experiences in her. Whereas I think they engineer memories for your run-of-the-mill regular working Joe replicant.
I can see that.
Yeah, she had, and the reason her memories give her a buffer outside of her not knowing she's a replicant, which makes her a much more convincing model to herself even, whereas Leon knows he's a replicant, is that she also has the bulwark of memories to condition her to know how to confront feelings that rise up within her. Whereas you don't if you don't have that. It's more difficult for you. Weren't Leon's photos just the ones he took himself as being asked? What do you think of that, Scott?
Maybe, but they look like they were of children, like him younger or something. You know, it looked like it was maybe manufactured. They don't really get into it. They don't really explain it, but that's what I think. I think it's something he was given to kind of facilitate his fake memories.
Could be. Yeah. Well,
we could all be wrong, but
no matter what, I'm sure a cursory Google search will tell you. But no matter what, we do know that Rachel is way more advanced.
Yes. She doesn't get, and you brought up a good point, is she not just because she doesn't know she's a replicant, but also because of all the memories she has and she's set up and she's a prototype, she doesn't get riled by the questions.
Right. Just the last one, boiled dog.
Yeah.
She sort of freezes there. And that's when he's like, okay, she's a replicant.
Yep.
And that great line of when she's like, is this a test if I'm a replicant, Mr. Deckard, or if I'm a lesbian?
Yeah. He likes it to you so much he hangs on his wall. Can you imagine? What the fuck? Imagine if your wife was like,
hey, babe, hey, look at this. Isn't this fucking great? I'm going to hang this up.
Imagine if your wife unfurled a Playgirl. She's like, look at that fucking 9-inch beast, and just stuck it on the wall. Do you mind? And you're like,
I mean, it just makes yours look like nothing. It's just incredible.
Oh God.
Like, what the fuck? It's a weird moment in the movie for sure.
Honey, I know you're into this photo, but the picture of Peter Steele holding this 9-inch wang is really messing with me. I can't keep it up in the bedroom. You got to take it down, honey. I'm sorry.
I can feel his eyes on.
He's just looking at me with his piece in his hand. I can't do it.
This fucking elephant trunk in his hand.
Hell yeah. So yeah, they know. I mean, this great introduction to Rachel. These shots of her eyes, smoking the cigarette again, neo noir, and Tyrell calls her an experiment. That's when he gets into commerce is our goal, more human than human is our motto. And Tyrell notes that they notice a strange obsession within them, emotional inexperience, and only a few years to store experiences which we take for granted. If we give them a past, we create a pillow for their emotions. Deckard says, "You're talking about memories." Indeed.
That's cool.
Oh, another thing too, that picture, some of the pictures recovered from Leon's apartment were present day because they are of Zora.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's part of him rooting out how to find Zora.
Okay. So maybe that's what he was using them for. I could be wrong. I'm just
which he does, right? Gaff can they go to Leon's apartment. So Gaff, we haven't talked about Edward James Olmos in this. I fucking love this guy. I have a huge soft spot for Edward James Olmos because he plays Adama, Bill Adama, and I think he's fantastic in that. And he's great in this. He's very mysterious. He's wearing some kind of, I don't know if is his eyes always that blue? Can't remember.
I don't remember him having blue eyes like that, but
yeah. But I think that's got to be context.
There are these little moments in this movie, and this one is no exception. And I think it's hidden brilliance, and it's this. So they go to Leon's apartment. Deckard finds that scale. He doesn't know what it is, so he bags it as evidence. And Gaff is there, and Gaff always says very little. He's got a weird limp to him. He has a cane, so something happened. He got wounded on the job, maybe. I like to imagine Gaff's life. Gaff, some kind of police that works with Blade Runners, if not Blade Runner himself, or at least trained to be one. Maybe his injury keeps him from, I don't really know. But Gaff is a mystery, and I like that about Gaff. I think it helps raise a lot of questions in this story that I really appreciate. And Gaff has this propensity to make these origami things. And in this particular scene, when they go to Leon's house, he takes some matches and he makes a man. And
A little man.
how about this? Do you know what a matchstick man is?
It's a con artist, right?
It's a not real man. A con artist, a fake.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's some deep shit.
that's deep Blade Runner shit. And Gaff putting the little matchstick man down with what looks like some sort of huge boner, when he puts that little matchstick man down, you're forced to go, holy shit, what is he trying to say here? Gaff does this, I mean, the biggest question in the movie is about what is Deckard, and we'll talk about that at the end. But I do like that he puts a man made of matches, or a matchstick man. And I know that I'm being cute with the language here, but I just thought, cool. It's an artistic expression. Is he suggesting something isn't real here? I don't know.
Ooh.
What?
No,
That's some deep shit. Like, does he say that? Did he put that down because of Deckard
Or Leon, or both.
or both?
What
Does
about
he know?
himself?
Does he know something that we don't?
I have a feeling he does.
Yeah.
He's cool.
My head's gonna explode. Holy shit.
No, he's such a good character. So, I mean, so genuinely mysterious and like unexplained, but we get those little bits of visual storytelling about him, those little moments that just inform you a little bit about this person.
Yes.
I love that. I love the way this movie lingers on visual moments like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, good call, Francisco. Yeah, Matchstick Men. Matchstick Men was another movie directed by Ridley Scott.
Oh, that was directed by Ridley Scott?
I didn't know that.
I've
I know
seen
Nick
that
Cage
movie. I
is in
forgot
it.
about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and also Sam Rockwell, I think.
Yep.
I think. Could be wrong.
Two people are boldly convinced that Deckard's not a replicant. I'm not so convinced, but we can talk about the end. I'm curious what you guys think.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
All right.
So, do you guys want to talk about William Blake for a minute? You guys want to get deep? I mean, Matty Anderson's the writer here.
Hell
And he's
yeah.
leaving us to do this. He better fucking know something about Blake.
Oh, I don't know that much about Blake, actually.
Swing and a miss.
It's a little hot in here now.
Roy Batty says something along the lines of, "Fiery the angels fell, deep thunder rolled around their shores, burning with the fires of Orc." He says that when they go to see Hannibal Chew. Great name, by the way.
Dude,
And-
Roy's introduction in this fucking movie.
Roy fucking rules. I mean, we see him talking to Leon, discussing the photos, but then they go to Chew's place, and that's really when you see him. But he opens with this line by William Blake. He butchers it a little, to be honest with you, because where Roy says "fiery the angels fell," it is "fiery the angels rose," but otherwise pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Yes. So, in digging a little bit, this Orc character, so it's Blake's book called America, A Prophecy, and Orc, as he's known, spelled much like the fantasy race, is this mythic opponent, Albion's angel. He is the transgressor of God's law. He symbolizes the spirit of rebellion and freedom. Interesting.
Sick.
Ooh.
Cool that Roy came in spitting this Orc poetry, as it were, and I like that it's tied back into this. I think that's really fucking cool.
It's everything about Roy's introduction is I think, expertly done. I think the entire, just the arc of this scene, even, like, for one, it took me a long time to realize that in the moment, the very first shot we see of Roy in the movie, outside of his little like profile when Deckard's looking at his file, when we see Roy for real, it's his hand. It's all zoomed in on his clutching hand.
Yep.
And he's saying like, there's still enough time. I've still got time. And you know, once you've seen this movie, you understand that like, oh, he's talking about like he's already dying. He's running up against his time limit, his 4-year age span. He's about to hit the point where his body shuts down and dies. And so it's already, what a great visual way of showing that he's already starting to kind of shut down a little bit. And I think that's just a brilliant way to show that. But then the whole arc of the scene, because Roy is just so instantly interesting and charismatic.
Indeed.
But then also he's fucking menacing.
Horrifying.
And it leaves you feeling it a weird way about him, where you're like, you don't know how to feel about him. I mean, because like, that's something I think is really interesting about the perspective of this movie, is it kind of throws you back and forth between, you know, the perspective of humanity and Deckard and what they think of replicants, and then the replicants themselves and how they interact between each other and what their motivations are. And so you can kind of get caught up in this world's humanity's idea of replicants and being like, well, look at them. They're fucking dangerous and scary. Yeah, I get it. And they're the bad guy. They're the fucking bad guy of this movie.
Indeed.
But the longer you look at it, the more you take in Roy and the replicants and their place in the world at large, it really starts to change at least how I feel about Roy and the replicants in general. It starts to shift it. And that's what I think is so masterful about introducing the replicants the way that he does here, because you don't quite know how to feel about them yet. You can kind of still think they're just a threat, you know?
Yeah, I love it.
Well, that's the thing. When I said that the movie hits me differently after 40, is I initially, when I watched this when I was younger, I just saw them as antagonists. They were just the bad guys. Now I see their plight. I see what they're going through, and they're trying to eke out an existence for the short time they have. They're trying to figure out if there's a way they can extend their lives, and they're being hunted. They're being hunted. So a lot of times they're forced into these kind of situations that makes them ultra violent.
Yeah.
They only steal the ship because they're exiled to some colony. They want to get back to Tyrell to infiltrate Tyrell to find out if there's another way to extend their life. That's all they're trying to do.
Can you blame them?
No, 4 years is not enough.
Yeah. Not just that, but imagine, again, this gets back to the more human than human is an achievement, but at the same time, it's also created its own set of problems, just like creating the dinosaurs has created its own fucking problems. Just like this is something that always happens when we push our way forward into technology, and it's going to happen with AI. It's the same thing, and humans will continue to make the same mistakes in the name of progress, which sometimes is good, and sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it's good with sometimes bad byproducts, and sometimes it's bad. It just depends. It's case by case as far as I can tell. There's no universality here, especially when it comes to science fiction. But I will say this. I think you have to sympathize with people. If we're going to go ahead and say these people feel, they are in essence almost indistinguishable, and they are for most people, that they have feelings, that they are individuals, that they have brains and bodies, and despite having extra capabilities beyond us, they are in fact feeling, thinking creatures that are sentient. They think, therefore they am. And because of that reality, they are created to be slaves, servants, under the worst conditions, off-world, pleasure bots, you name it. Can you imagine the horrors that person has been subjected to? So take all of that stuff as a reflection on what an amazing achievement, but then also, much like the Cylons of Battlestar Galactica, our sins have returned home to us, which is what Adamus says. And that's what's happening here. They've returned home. They've come back. You've tried to put them in a terrible place and do terrible things to them in the name of progress for this off-world terraforming, and now they've returned. Your sins have returned to come back for you. It's time for remunerations, as it were. And you're in a bad position because there is going to be some sympathy for them. And I think that's what makes this such an interesting film. They killed 23 people, and although that is savage, and I can't imagine that some of those people weren't just some poor fucking desk clerk trying to ride it out to
Right.
retirement, paying for his kid's college. He probably didn't deserve to die. And I'm not excusing them murdering some of these people. That's not what I'm saying. But we can't pretend there isn't a reason for it. It's it very much smacks of a 9/11 on some level, which is you can't excuse anybody for flying planes into a fucking building, but you can't pretend some of them didn't think they had a really good fucking reason to do it. You don't excuse it, but you can't pretend that they're just completely bloodthirsty monsters who are not even human beings. That's crazy to say. You have to understand why that is, right? The CIA made the term called blowback for a reason. And that's something you have to contend with. Now, when you do things and you conduct yourself away, and if you're going to make sentient creatures that are subjected to horrors, and then they want to be free of that, you have to be prepared to deal with the consequences of that, which is why it's kill on sight. They return to Earth, fucking kill them on sight. Why? Because we don't want to contend with that. They're going to come back to us and they're going to hold a mirror up in front of our face and we're going to go, no, kill them. I don't even want to look. I can't stand to look.
Right.
I can't stand to look. I can't stand to see what we're doing to these things. I can't reconcile that. I'll go mad or I won't if I'm a fucking psychopath. I won't give a shit. I'll throw the mirror out and say, get out of my office. But, you know, there's probably, again, most of the most horrible sins ever commenced upon fellow man were done in the name of goodness. And maybe they think there's some sort of progress here to get off of this fucking planet that we've destroyed, to go to Mars. So we got to sacrifice these poor replicants. But now, fuck. Now they're back. And now we have to contend with that. But I don't want to. So kill them. That's what they're saying. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
It is.
human. It's very human to me. Not good human.
Yes.
Not bad human, just human.
But human. I totally agree.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
It is.
pretty scary. Pretty scary. So I don't know. It is an intense thing. And these guys are calculating combat models. They're calculating. They have a plan. They're motivated. Their motivation is life itself. His hand is crunching up in the beginning, as Matt said. Roy's introduction tells us his body is not doing what he wants it to do.
It's running out of time.
Yeah.
He's forced later in the movie to, in this sort of analogous to Jesus, drive a stake through his fucking hand to get it to do what he wants it to do. This weird... anytime people spike their hands, I'm forced to think biblical, right? He drives a spike through his own fucking hand.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know. It's like some stigmata shit. What does that mean?
I thought he was just doing it for the adrenaline rush to kind of finish the fight.
It could have practical reasons on the surface, but that's storytelling. What is there something analogous to something else here, right?
Yeah.
Ooh. I've got a quick speculation.
Hit me.
Do we think because of what we see in Blade Runner 2049 that there's sort of this like starting to be an uprising of replicants, or at least they're starting to come together?
I think so. I think there are some, remember webisodes and leading up to 2049, there's comics.
Yes.
I think that's a thing. I think that's a thing actually, but I can't say for certain because I'm not a Blade Runner lore expert, sadly.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, do we think that there's a possibility that Roy served as sort of the martyr figure for that? That, like, Roy is a famous replicant who tried to fucking rebel, and that was, like, an inspiration. I'm like, oh, I could totally see that Roy was, like, one of the first to make it that far, to do what he does.
Interesting thing to speculate about, and allow me to take it a step further.
Ooh.
Maybe he is somebody who rebelled and used violence, but ultimately not his tool in the end.
Well, it didn't work for him.
He abandoned it.
Mm-hmm.
He abandons violence. More human than human is the great flourish at the end of this picture, as far as I'm concerned. And that is probably the greatest achievement of this story is Roy Batty has decided by the end of this movie, we're really jumping ahead here.
We're going all over the place. But
He is muted, Audrey. Scott, he is muted. Yeah, I can't get him. We're having trouble with his volume. It'll be better on the finished product. I apologize. But yeah. Well, we'll talk about Roy's martyrdom and Roy's use of violence, and then, as far as I can tell, his abandonment of said violence. We'll get to that at the end.
Hell yeah.
We'll have no choice. But that's one we won't forget because we have the whole tears in the rain moment we have to get to. But we haven't talked enough about Rachel. I think we need to talk a lot about Rachel.
yeah.
Imagine being in Rachel's position. We've talked about being in Roy's position. Okay? Roy knows he's a machine from jump. He knows he's a replicant at jump. Right?
Yeah.
Rachel doesn't. So imagine the startling revelation, which, by the way, is handled with the delicacy of a fucking elephant in a goddamn China shop.
Dude, thank you for saying as much, because that's all I could think this time in this viewing. The way Deckard reveals to her that her memories are he just fucking dumps it on her. It's a ice water in a bucket that he just dumps on her head. I'm like, God damn.
He hits her harder with that than he hits her harder than that when he slams her up against the wall and doesn't let her leave his house.
So hot.
Creep.
So hot.
Fucking kill me.
Fucking kick my head off.
Fucking blow my fucking brains out with your fucking replicant killing gun.
Yeah, take control.
Take control, daddy. Fucking slam me. Boom. Yep. So, but the baby spider's eating the mom. There is another awesome piece of imagery in Rachel's mind. It's analogous to the replicant rebellion on some level, is it not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kill the creator, Orcs rebellion, Blake's shit.
Yep. Eat the creator.
Eat
Children
the
come home.
creator. Our sins have come home to roost, and we might just deserve it. So say we all. What? That's a weird message, dude.
Wait.
Are you saying we deserve to die? You're the fucking captain. Don't say that. Come on, guy. You're better than this.
I need some fucking pep in my step. Jesus.
Stop leaving these origami guys all over my fucking desk.
Well, Bill, you left another origami. Fucking curl ties. Like, what the fuck is this? Are you drinking again, Bill? So, anyway, yeah. Here's what I like about this shit with Deckard and Rachel. I like the setup by Tyrell. I want to see you prove a negative before I get a positive. He's setting him up, but Deckard gets through it after, as we've pointed out, 100 questions. And Deckard begins to empathize with Rachel almost immediately, even though he drops on her like a ton of bricks. Now, we have to give Deckard a pass just a second, because let's remember Deckard's life. He blows away replicants that have gone rogue.
Yeah. He's going to be a tad indelicate when it comes to things of that nature.
Yep. But it immediately, here's why. All right. I rarely agree with governments. Let's start there. But here's why you got to kill him on sight. Isn't it? The government might know a little bit. Like, dude, the second Rachel gives him the puppy dog eyes, Deckard's cooked.
Yeah, he's all done. He's all done.
Outside of Queen of the Dam fanning her in the apartment like a creep, he's cooked. He's already thinking, am I doing... It's already playing on... It's playing on him. It's playing on him on some level. So the government's like, kill him right away. Don't let him talk. Don't let him do this. Don't let him do that. Kill him. Shut him down.
Don't let them talk. Fucking putting their fingers in their ears.
It's like shoot it. It's like when Pick Your News Agency does a debate and the guy starts talking, like, we gotta go to commercial. Paid for by Pfizer.
Time.
Gotta go.
Don't let them talk. DuPont. Gotta go.
Pan away. It's so fucking funny. Or they just shout over each other. Every fucking it's fucking hilarious. But that's like, don't let
commercials about.
Don't let her bat those eyes. Because then you're fucking cooked.
Dude, Dunsky. Fucking
boy,
Rachel.
this moment is fantastic. And It's sad. The music by Vangelis is phenomenal, but this is a sad moment when he just breaks her up like that.
You want a drink?
Yeah.
That's the best I can offer you after kicking the legs out from under your entire identity.
Exactly.
Fucking letting it crash to the floor.
But think about it. Where is Deckard now? He just offered something he is paid to kill, a drink. That's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's compromised. When it
And
comes
if you're
to
the
her,
powers
absolutely.
that be, you can't have that happen. I can't have this group and this group realize that they really want the same shit out of life, because if they do, I'm fucking cooked. Keep them fighting about dumb shit, right?
They're coming for me next if they work together.
Yeah, I got to keep this guy thinking this guy's a piece of shit and this guy thinking this guy's a piece of shit, so they don't realize I'm the piece of shit. Politics 101. So what's happening here? That's exactly what's happening here, right?
100%.
It's so scary.
But it is perfect though, because like when you think about how Deckard's view of Rachel has gone, or his perception of her, that he walked into the room and thought from the moment he saw her, that's a human being. That's Tyrell's assistant.
Yeah.
Like, and Tyrell said, oh, I want you to do the test on her because I want to see a negative test on a human. And so he walked into this thinking, utterly believing that she was another human being. And he got to watch over the course of the test and slowly realize, oh God, she's a replicant.
Right.
And I think you could never fully shake off that feeling of when I first saw her, I had that, and especially because they fall in love, which I think is so narratively interesting in the story. Because they fall in love, the moment he saw her and the feelings that fucking generated, you can't argue with its reality. You're like, I felt that way for a replicant.
Yes.
Like, so what does that now say about their distinction from us? Like, kind of eradicates it. It doesn't make sense anymore.
That perception is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I could imagine it being in Deckard's shoes and just not being able to shake my initial first impression of her when I believed she was a human being.
Indeed.
And just like that's just, it doesn't change, you know?
I'm going to take you real deep. By the way, not a philosophy expert at all, but I like the idea of how that perception really matters, because the I think therefore I am line came as a result of Descartes going, I don't know if I can trust my perception. I don't know if I can trust my reason. I can only trust that I think therefore I am, which in essence was him coming to the conclusion that if I can doubt my own existence, I can still prove that I have a thought and exist, right?
Right.
Because
by having this thought.
He went so deep. Like, his thing was, he went so deep into, can I trust my perception anymore? It's not always infallible. So if my perception is not always infallible, maybe it's always fallible. And if I can't always trust my reason because my reason is infallible, what if it's always infallible? Oh my God, what am I going to do? And he was having this real meltdown. It's pretty wild to read about. But then he realized that he could suggest that even if he doubted his own existence, in doubt, he would be demonstrating thought, thus existence. Do you see?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is almost counterintuitive to us saying, well, his perception is reality. Descartes would argue, no, it isn't, because it might be wrong. Your perception could be flawed. And that just started him down this whole goddamn path, which philosophers still argue today. I don't have a huge opinion on it because I don't have the knowledge for that. But that idea I can think about, and I like it a lot, because that that's a huge piece of these things. I think therefore I am. Right?
Yeah.
Thought of existence could, in essence, a thinking mind has to exist. That's the point. To take all that horse shit in a nutshell, a thinking mind must exist. Because even if it doubts its own existence, by doubting, it's thinking.
By having a thought at all, it's proving it exists to have a thought.
Correct. Oh my God.
Something's producing something.
Hand me the edibles. Yeah. Give me the fucking mushrooms. Give me all of them. I can't do
Give me
it.
a shovel.
I don't know if I'd want to think about all this on those. Jesus Christ.
Fuck, dude.
Just be under my computer desk shaking and rocking back and forth.
Yeah. But back to your point, him thinking about loving her, falling in love with her eventually, right?
Yeah.
But it starts here. To rewind to the initial point, he gave a machine a drink.
Yeah.
A machine that he's accustomed to killing.
Right.
That's why the government
drink.
says kill on sight, by the way.
I think it's just what Maddie was saying, that he kind of, maybe because she was different right off the bat and she's attractive and she's caring and charismatic, that he was like, oh, even if she is one, it's cool. Let's hang out.
I'm kind of down with it now.
Do you think the normal models look like fucking Mario and Luigi? He's just like, oh, fuck these guys. Pow, 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 with his crazy Blade Runner gun.
Like, it's me, Mario.
If they all look like, no offense, Brian James, you're just going to fucking blow them away. It's fine. The second they look like Joanna Cassidy and Sean Young, you got problems.
That's what the last thought in Tyrell's head was before it came apart, was, damn, I shouldn't have made them hot.
Exactly. You fucked up.
Should have made him hot.
Yeah. When he was designing Pris's lips, he did not see the backfire that was going to ensue. Those fucking legs. He's like, what am I doing? As his eyeballs get pushed into his head, like stupid Viper in Game of Thrones should have just killed the fucking mountain. Sorry for the tangent. You know? That's it.
That's so good.
And by the way, speaking of the manipulations, the fucking manipulations continue because now Pris is manipulating the oldest young guy on the planet.
Dude, literal Benjamin Button,
This
poor bastard.
fuck. William Sanderson, not gonna get, not known for being the hot guy.
No. He's a
So they're
sniveler for sure in real, like in all
Got
his
a
parts.
real sniveler quality to him, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
He plays the mayor in Deadwood. He's
great in that role.
He's great in a lot of his roles. But I mean, they were saying he was like 25 in this.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's 65. It's like, damn, man, I'm sorry.
You think it's easy life breathing in Los Angeles there, and not imagined 2019 Blade Runner style, buddy?
I mean, there's probably a lot of methane from all those giant fuel torches burning into the atmosphere. So,
Also, Matthew,
Dude, yeah.
I just want you to know something, buddy.
Yeah.
I just saw Scott. He's wearing a Terminator shirt. I think he's a fucking replicant sympathizer. Up against the wall.
Oh, shit.
Get the blindfold.
Machine lover.
God
a dirty
damn.
machine lover.
dude, my eyes aren't glowing. I'm fine. My childhood was great.
What do you do with the turtle, you sick fuck? Huh? You eating boiled dog?
What's a tortoise?
I loved
What's a
mother
tortoise?
and father.
I love them.
All you see is Dean just kick down the door and just put the gun to my head.
And then I go, what have I done? His brains are like mine.
So poignant.
I should have bought him a drink.
Yeah, exactly. I should have literally abducted him into my apartment and fucking 5-node my ways to a yes. Creep.
The fucking no-dozer, dude. He just fucking bulldozes those no's.
That's the no dozer. Just plowing ahead.
Charming.
Imagine if you put him in a replicant a tractor strength wrist lock. How are you so strong? A fucking machine, dum-dum. You know this. Well, anyway, Pris does some infiltrating. And Deckard imagines unicorns. But back to the investigation at hand, this scale does lead him to a man named Taffy Lewis. Oh, I was like, you're looking a little dry. Why don't you have a drink in the house?
Taffy Lewis, the mayor of Sillytown.
Like an old laffy Taffy Lewis.
Fucking mayor of
He
Goofytons.
stinks.
Taffy Lewis.
He does
It's fucking
so
funny. Oh my God.
But
The guy is funny.
He is funny. I mean, long story short here, we learn about Miss Salome and her snake. He saw the snake tattoo on her when he was reviewing the footage. And suddenly he is going to this place. And he's striking out. Deckard's drinking a little. He gets a little drunk. He's going to call Rachel for a little fucking booty call. She shuts it down. Right? He's done. He's fucked. He's compromised. He he's already out of the principle of I'm a stone cold replicant killer. That is now on wobbly fucking legs.
And we also have confirmed that he's no lady killer, because his offer is just like, well, why don't you just come down here for a drink, to the most bougie ass lady who lives in a fucking pyramid. Like, dude, she's never gonna come down out of there.
Built by
for this.
replicant slaves.
Exactly. Dude, she lives in the sky. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
She's like, fuck that.
That place you look up to every
Miller?
day, that's in the skyline, that's her house. What do you do?
I'm going to come down there for a Miller High Life. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh.
Oh. I might be a replicant, but I'm a fucking bougie bitch, too. Shit.
Well, speaking of not bougie, this goddamn stinky-ass club must smell like armpits.
Ugh.
And
Gross.
after waiting at the bar for a while, he sees a Miss Salome and her snake who, quote, watch her take the pleasure from the snake that once corrupted men. What does that mean?
What? Yeah.
How do
Oh,
you
my
take
God.
the
I was trying to
pleasure
figure
from a
out.
snake.
I'm like, is this like one of those Mexican donkey shows?
I think it might be.
Is this a snake thing now?
New
Oh,
flavor,
God.
snake pussy. We got
Yeah, I was
boa
like, what the hell?
constrictor pussy, sidewinder pussy, cobra pussy, fucking viper pussy. We get it, fucking snakes. Shut up.
You know a lot of snakes offhand. All right.
There is a lot of flapper styles. Again, the neo-noir style is on display here. Veils, long
Very 40s.
cigarettes.
Very 40s.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I think he thinks he's out of leads, and he lucks into a lead because he goes, wait a minute. I think that's her. She's got the tattoo. She's got the fucking snake. We got the scales. We got evidence is lining up. And
right.
this leads to a really ill attempt at infiltration with a really bad voice into her dressing room. Now, before that silliness, this was the only editing moment where I was a little jarred by the movie on this watch specifically, because I was like, well, that's weird. They were introducing her to dance and then we cut to him at the thing. They just sort of bypassed him seeing her and confirming anything, right?
That's a good point.
He doesn't see it. It's a weird edit. He doesn't see anything. So I did a little bit of digging, and she did do a dance, and they cut it.
Oh,
okay.
But don't worry. You can go to Joanna Cassidy's YouTube and see her doing this dance like 10 years ago.
Is that
And
something
it's-
I'd want to see?
Really fucking weird. But I highly recommend. I'm not going to judge it. It's unique and artistic.
So weird, right?
Unique and artistic is what I will correct myself on. You should check it out. That's what I'm going to say. So if you're curious about that missing seed, and if you think, why did he go from introducing the snake charmer to standing there waiting for her to come backstage, it's because they cut it out of there.
Yeah. Okay. Dude, that's something we haven't talked about yet. I know we talked about it on the original podcast the first time we covered this movie, but a lot of people might not know that there are so many versions of this movie.
Yeah,
there are
good point.
There are multiple chopped up versions, and this movie's editing has been a hellscape for a long time. Like the final cut coming out, it was a big deal because it was like, okay, we have this like authoritative. Ridley Scott had had the most of his vision that he could do with the film that they had, and reconstructed something as close to as what he wanted as he could get. And so that's why I do think at the end of the day, there's a lot of interesting conversation about the other versions, and we kind of mentioned it earlier of how there's a voiceover that Harrison Ford gave to the, so that there was like a continuous monologue that is going throughout the story that's a little more informative, but it also explains away some things.
Yeah, it was a studio thing that Ridley wasn't down with, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. And even Harrison Ford didn't want to do it and kind of didn't give a shit about the performance of it. And he sounds like he doesn't give a fuck. I remember that.
It's incredibly
hard to imagine Harrison Ford, right?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. But yeah, so I would still say that, you gotta pursue the final cut.
Check 'em out.
It is the authoritative cut, but the other stuff there is interesting. But it does explain how there are still a few weird edits that I think they just didn't have enough footage to like repair.
Yeah, great call. So, okay, my notes got a little mixed up. There we go. That makes more sense. There we go. Okay. You look a little dry. Little dry over here. He goes on to say, there's a great line here when he's trying to talk to Zora is her name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I called her Zamora, but I'm like, that's a place in the Conan's like mythos. So, not Zamora. That's what the witch was saying when he was getting plowed out. Zamora. Anyway, not Zamora, but Zora, the snake charmer.
Snake fucker potentially.
Nothing like sibilance on a microphone. Sounds great when you're in a fucking car. Sorry about that. So, you'd be surprised what men would do to see a beautiful body, he says to her. Which is
in his weird voice.
First of all,
Dude.
That's a silly thing to say to a beautiful woman, number one. But that beat, and then she goes, no, I wouldn't. It's the most honest line in the movie because it's so obvious. You don't know what you're talking about. I certainly know, right?
Well, as a man, let me inform you, you probably have no idea.
I mean, he can speak to the depravity of man and what men will go through to see a body. He's probably an expert.
He is
on
the
that.
no-dozer after all.
He's a no-dozer. He knows what's what.
You might have holes drilled all over your walls because I did it. I drilled them.
He's holding a fucking Nikita drill behind his back. He's not springing for fucking, he's not springing.
He's not getting to Milwaukee or nothing,
He ain't going, no. He's not. You think he's going DeWalt
Yeah, hell no.
on a Blade Runner salary? Fuck no.
No. He's getting Ryobi at best.
Every blue collar guy's like, fuck yeah. And fuck Ryobi. DeWalt or death.
A weird line in the sand to cross, but okay.
Ryobi shit. My dad bought a Ryobi. I almost broke his balls for it because the fact that he bought anything called Ryobi just shows you. You know what? He's letting it all go.
Yeah.
He's letting all the Yanks go. He's letting it go. Good for him, Dad. I'm proud of you, Father. Proud of you.
He's just staring at it in the store for a long time.
Fuck.
Finally just shrugs his shoulders.
Like, fuck it. $40 cheaper is still $40.
The more
He's a
inside my
practical
head is
man. My
over.
father is very practical. God bless him. So, she bashes him hard.
And his clock is rung pretty. I mean, he's running through after them or after her, and he has no idea. He's like kind of disoriented.
He's got a real Captain Miller. What do we do now, sir?
Yeah.
He's like, I just got my bell rung by a machine. And it hurts. Machines are strong, come to find out. Yeah. Well, he blows her away in the street.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like
This
unceremoniously, like
What
dude,
a fucking scene, dude.
It is, for me, it might be the standout scene of the movie. Like this moment, this sequence of him chasing her down and then just finally gunning her down. Even when I was way too young to understand this movie, that scene always jumped out at me just for the way it was filmed, just for the way, kind of like you said, Scott, like it's totally unceremonious what he does to her, but the way the movie shows it to us really lingers on it and really makes a moment of her dying.
It does.
It's a big deal. It's the camera is on this for a long time. And that's something to really notice with Ridley Scott, that like this is where we're fixed on. We look for longer at the replicant being shot than we do Deckard shooting at her. That's not like an action movie.
Correct.
Like it's about her in this moment. And the thing, I felt differently about this movie as a kid, but even as a kid, I very much so saw Deckard cleanly as the good guy. He's the good guy. He's the tough, cool, good guy. But this scene always sat with me in a weird way where I was like, yeah, he's the good guy, but I feel weird about the way he did that. And I couldn't put my finger on it. But now it really is. And I think this scene is lingered on the way that it is because it really starts to have an effect on Deckard.
100%.
Because what has Deckard had happen up to this point, he is already starting to have a feeling for a replicant. And starting to lose any sort of distinction between him and a replicant, and that he's already starting to feel that way. And now he just gunned another female replicant down, and he's sitting there looking at
his face says it all.
Yeah, he's looking at the female replicant that he just blew away, and he's like, like deep down, kind of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
because what did he just do? Moments ago, a couple days. He just tried to booty call one, and he gave one a drink earlier.
Yep.
But what happens in this move, I think her attacking him helps prompt him to be violent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In his own consciousness. I'm not saying it's justifiable. But great call by Nate in the chat of Kirking Off. Shooting people in the back, he's definitely corporate security.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, no matter what he was before, he struggles now. He just shot a woman in the back running for her life.
And I want to get back to Matt's point. Running for her life, you're sort of leading me there, Scott. And Matt, you sort of framed it. That's what we focus on, is her complete desire to live, to get away. She doesn't turn and fight him. She doesn't direct rage at him. All she's doing is trying to get away to live. That's all she wants. After getting hit, she tries to get up and keep running away. She doesn't take cover, go for a weapon, hide, try to ambush him. She's just trying to get away. That's all she wants to do is get away. She whacked him really good. She probably would have killed him in his defense had the other women not come into the dressing room, and she lets go and splits. Time is of essence. She takes off. And I think that is awesome. And it does beg the question. She is interrupted when she is fighting. Bryant described Zora as Beauty and the Beast. She's both, right?
Yeah.
What stopped her from killing Deckard when interrupted by the other dancers? That's a question I've been thinking about all day. I don't know if I have the answer. I can only speculate. Because she could have finished him off and just taken off, Why? Why spare him? Is there a moment of guilt? I don't want to murder this guy in front of these women who have nothing to do with this. Is that it?
I was just going to say, I think it's maybe the most human possible response, a moment of hesitation.
Yeah.
Of just like,
people are around.
Want to do this. Yeah.
They snap you out of the rage.
I'm being witnessed. Yeah. Damn. Yeah.
Or
it's so human, though.
Yeah.
Or the fact that she may think he's a replicant.
Why would she think that, you think?
I don't know. Maybe they can they tell who's who? Can replicants tell?
That's a great question. I don't know if is it ever explored?
It's like
Highlanders.
Yeah, like does he get like a queasy stomach and throw up everywhere when the one gets close?
I know. Every meeting between Pris and Roy starts with a throw up. Nice to see you, my love. Well, let me talk poetry to you. I'll see you at the coffee shop later. You don't even need Blade Runners at that point. People would just kill them. They're throwing up all the time.
But I thought it was maybe she either thought he was a replicant or she's reluctantly the beast.
Mm-hmm.
She's the beauty all the time, but when she has to be, she can be tough. But maybe she realized this is not the time to do that. Maybe she thinks she could get away.
He's not a target.
Maybe she realized the fact that if she kills a Blade Runner, because I think she knows he's a Blade Runner right off the bat. And I think she figures if she kills one, maybe it's too many, maybe it draws too much attention to her and she won't be able to get away.
Again, it shows that they're not just cyborgs.
Yeah.
Because if that's a T800, it cracks his neck and
Oh yeah, it puts its foot through his face
and then just walks
out
through
of
the wall onto the street, punches through the car door, opens it, gets in, and drives away. Direct action, right? Robot shit.
Robot shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake saying plot armor main character. Dude, yes, of course, but the fun of podcasting is trying to think of why you could have it make sense in the story. You could say that about every single scene. Yeah, it's just because it's written that way. Clearly that's the case. But you want to try to speculate to get yourself there from a story perspective. At least that's fun to me to think about. Instead of just like, well, that's the script. Right.
I think it's way
The
deep.
script was happening.
There's more to this story than just the surface level. There's way more.
For sure.
And this is one of those movies where you don't take everything at surface level because everything has a meaning. It's Ridley Scott.
Right,
of
course.
I mean, there's snow, for Christ's sake. You know, there's something in the air. You know it's a Ridley
That's his
Scott
signature
film.
shooting.
They're
he's
everywhere.
like, I want shit falling on my actors. Just
got
throw shit on
snow.
them. The guy's like, what? Anything. Throw it on them.
Just huck shit.
Right. Yeah. But when she's getting shot too, I love the idea of her running by a bunch of mannequins and shit.
Yeah. It's cool.
just
Oh yeah.
weird.
They're like wearing almost the same thing she is, too.
It's a good point. I didn't think about that, but now that I have it paused, you're right. But back to the point of the scene, Deckard feels a way about this, doesn't he?
I think this is his real turning point when he's like, oh, shit. And he's like,
What have I done?
he doesn't see them as just a target anymore. He sees them as living beings, even though he's hunted countless ones before. I think with running into Rachel really sent him askew as far as what they are in his mind. And that's so interesting because, you know, it's boring if he's just the guy who always kills everyone and it's fun. It's kind of interesting to see him being conflicted with what he did every day 2 days before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's confused. He's becoming confused as a result of these very advanced replicants. Now that he has to engage with them. Right. I'm sure earlier models were, fucking purple skin, rubbery skin looking. Probably easier to blow away, right? Now they're giving him doe eyes and being like, "Oh, I'm so sad." He's like, "Oh, fuck, you're like a person, I guess."
You're like a person now. Shit.
Now that you're a person, I'm not going to let you leave my apartment. Treat you like a person. Ew.
Give you a drink, but you can't leave.
Yep. That's the way it is. But now he blasts her, and Bryant calls him a one-man slaughterhouse. This action sequence. This is a bit of a lengthy sequence because we go right from him killing Zora, feeling a way about it, and we have to be like, wait a minute. So Zora escaped a life of slavery and was attempting to blend in, be a dancer, live her life, right. And now she's getting interrogated and chased through the streets and shot in the back. We're forced to, again, we have to look in the mirror on this one, guys. We gotta contend with this.
Who's the bad guy again?
Yep.
Shit. It really makes you start to question.
For sure. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and you can tell he really chafes at being called a one-man slaughterhouse too.
He doesn't
Brian
like
says
that. I know.
No,
that's
that.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, good from Harrison Ford.
Which I'm sure before this interaction with the replicants, I'm sure he didn't care. I'm sure it didn't bother him whatsoever. And now he's like balking at it, like, oh, like
Right.
the look on his face when he calls him that. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, for sure.
Which is fun. It's kind of it's really interesting to see I mean, it's a well written story, so obviously you have character change and development, but it's so different from the beginning when he was reluctant to do this and he's known for being a good replicant killer, and then he gets into it and he's kind of like, yeah, I kind of don't want to do this anymore. I'm falling in love with one, so I'm killing the girl I'm into's like cousins basically.
At the minimum, he wants to fuck her.
Yeah, at least.
which makes him must start to think, wait a minute. And he did feel something when he made her feel sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still made a girl cry. Shit.
Indeed. Right, exactly. You fucking bully.
You fucking meanie pants.
Just wait. He'll escalate that meanness soon. Yeah.
But dude, we get a really a big important moment though here when Bryant and Gaff pull up to the scene, and Bryant tells him that he actually has 4 more replicants left to kill now. And he was like, no, that we just had 3. And this is where we find out that Rachel has officially disappeared from the Tyrell building and is on the run and is now designated to be executed because she is a replicant.
Yeah,
and so that's the next up on your list, bud. Have fun.
She's gone off the home base, and well, now you're subject to the laws that of the land state. Killed on sight. No rights. Which is exactly how they dealt with clones in Sixth Day.
It's almost like all government. Wait, no, hold on.
Well, Gaff, Brian, and Deckard break up, and quickly he sees Rachel, and this leads him to getting intercepted by Leon, who is not happy. Leon witnessed him kill Zora. He feels a way about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's clear as day.
Fuck, he does.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And that's cool, too, to see that kind of, the loss on Leon's face.
Right. Yeah,
like
he's
heartbroken.
He's horrified, too.
Yeah.
It's really good shit.
You just watched him gun this girl down in the street, shoot her in the back.
Yeah. He's got the real crazy eyes, too.
Yeah,
How old am I?
Dude, I love that Deckard, Leon goes, how old am I? And then Deckard just punches him in the face and then goes, I don't know.
He thinks he's gonna get away? Nah, you ain't get away.
No, he's a military model.
Yeah, I can't. Something about his strength. Some crazy strength.
He was an ammunition loader.
Yeah.
That was his role. So he's just picking up huge fucking racks of ammunition and loading them all day. That's this guy's fucking farmer strength ass replicant crazy body.
What the fuck's that thing called? You know when they're on the Sulaco and they're loading it up?
Oh, the power loader.
That's Leon.
Yeah, they made a guy do that.
Exactly, because they're like, this stupid thing's so big. You just pick up and throw him in the thing. Yeah.
And Rachel comes to his safety, or to save him, because he was going to die.
Blows Leon away. Wait a minute, robot on robot crime. What do the books say about that?
How will we ever change?
They are just like humans. Now they're killing each other. The most human thing you could do. Congrats, you're sentient. You have rights
what we're
now.
best at.
There is no difference.
Stealing our good
there
shit.
is no difference.
Yeah. Blast that dude in the fucking
Head opens up like a cantaloupe.
Good
Exit
shot.
wound on the forehead. Yikes.
Whoopsie.
Real quick, I'd be like, thanks for saving me, but I was down target. Like you
downrange.
Downrange.
My
You
face
could have
was right there.
easily killed me. Killed me. We got lucky in that situation.
She's probably like, well, then she does a little fucking cowboy twirl, reloads the gun, does a trick, puts it in a holster.
Like, wait a minute, this isn't Westworld. What the hell?
Tyrell couldn't help himself. They all got pistol skills. I mean, she shoots this dude in the head who's in a grapple. She got fucking robot eyes.
She got special replicant eyes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Deckard has the shakes, of course, the adrenaline. It's part of the business. Rachel says, I am the business. Ooh.
Yeah.
He knows.
And then Deckard goes all Jacques Legris. You have to see the last duels on that one?
That's right. Go look up that episode. You'll know what we're talking about.
He goes all Jacques Legris. Which has its own problems, doesn't it? He's probably like, who cares? She's a robot. In that Harrison Ford baritone voice, she's a robot. Who cares?
You got no right.
Robot.
The shots of her eyes glowing just looks incredible.
I was just gonna say that, like, the replicants, when they're interacting with Deckard, they emphasize the little pink glow they have in their eyes. It's really cool.
Did you notice that there's a moment in this movie where he has it?
No.
Yes.
Oh, you
when they're standing in the doorway together. I don't remember the exact moment, Is it in this scene?
It's 106:35 or so.
You're the fucking
That
man, dog.
That'll get you close because I just watched it.
Oh yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, this is the scene.
Is it right here?
Yep. I'll unpause and I'll take down the filter.
Oh,
See his eyes got the orange hue in them.
Wow,
It's fucking awesome.
I missed that. That's really cool.
It's really cool. I like that moment.
Throws things into question.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Pretty neat. I thought
This movie's such a tease. Dude.
It's
such a fucking tease.
Ridley Scott fucking around. He wants you to talk about it. That's how he sells tickets. He ain't stupid.
Gotta put that extension on my mansion. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't talk bad about him, though. He'll fucking flip your car,
Dude.
with all his soccer hooligan friends.
Yeah. He'll show up with phone books taped to his chest and whip out a knife.
Hell yeah.
You see what you're fucking made of, mate.
Fucking go, bro.
So you don't think that Deckard's a replicant, oi?
I'm sorry, who told you you could think? But, so after this troublesome scene of him with her at the house, Pris is now in Sebastian's house and got a whole different type of manipulation going on.
Yeah, that's like the friendly manipulation. Like, help us out, buddy. You're so handsome.
Yeah.
You're our pal.
And
You're
got
not
like
just some
he's like
lonely fuck.
fucking Pinocchio. He's got like all these little like puppets everywhere.
Yeah, he's a weirdo.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff, man. He's into some kinky stuff by himself, living in that apartment with all those little dolls everywhere.
And this poor fuck, he thinks she's gonna knock on the door and be like, "I'm a little scared to sleep alone. Thanks for helping me." That's what he thinks is gonna happen, but he's a fool.
Well, she is a pleasure model, so I mean, he's not wrong.
That. He doesn't know that.
Oh,
or does he knows they're replicants at some point, right? Would they admit it to him? Because he's like, "Oh, part of me is in you, and I wish more of me is in you." But
not the part I want.
Not my personality, yuck. But I don't know.
Dude, think about what this guy does too. Like I think he even just says like, "Oh, I'm a genetic engineer," like all casual about it. And I'm like, so let's get this straight for a second. Let's think about this. So you work for the Tyrell Corporation as a genetic engineer, and you create replicants for them and engineer them, design them, whatever. They let you take the material home to make your own fucking freak show with? Like, what the fuck? That's legal?
His own
you
carnival.
can do that? Like, replicants aren't even supposed to be legal, but you're fucking making this shit? Oh, my God. It's so weird. It's funny, though.
It's pretty funny.
All these horrible abominations.
This is how I amuse myself. Make the most wretched and vile creatures I possibly can out of my big vat that I grow them in.
They're abominations to Christ, but they're my abominations. Why am I such a misfit? Fucking stupid island of misfit toys, this guy.
Oh, shit. Dude, he didn't make one Oompa Loompa. With this power, with the power in his hands, he didn't make one Oompa Loompa. Power.
Dude, we take a minute for how Pris looks in this. Like, her
especially
look is so unique.
Yeah, especially that hair.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that hair?
It does look a little weird, but
it's actually like a blonde Pete Rose. Just bombing down the third base line. Such a bad haircut. Such a dumb wig. It looks like she's wearing it's like her face is lost in the wig.
Yeah, it's very, very oversized. Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Dude, replicants love sticking their hands in places they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's like one of their favorite. They do that all the time.
Leon did it earlier, and something that I think I wrote down the numbers for. Negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 196 Celsius is that liquid nitrogen shit. And I think he was just amazed at how it didn't destroy his hand. He was like, whoa, cool.
All right.
Oh, nice.
By the way, a great line we went past is Brian says, to hurt him, you'd have to kill him. Yikes.
Yeah. Jesus. No pain. Shit.
Yikes. Yep.
It's intense.
Yep, I agree. But so they are here because this guy has a direct line to Tyrell. And they want to get at Tyrell because they want to be fixed. They want more life.
More time.
And
Right.
they know that they're illegal. They know their position. They're quite self-aware of what's happening. So as a result of that reality, they know that they have to try to get there surreptitiously. And to do it, the convincing, I think, thing that happens here, and this was a bit confusing, but he's been playing this remote chess game with Tyrell. He's only ever beat Tyrell maybe once, I think he says. But he's about to help. He is about to beat him because of a move Roy gives him, which prompts Tyrell to be interested in talking to him about this. So he's like, yeah, come on up. Is that what happens? I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it. It is a little bit of a weird way it plays out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's their entry point. The reason that Tyrell will even give them time of day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all it takes. They lean on him. I mean, you see this guy. He's surrounded by fucking toys. A woman in the flesh of Daryl Hannah's makeup. And suddenly, yep, come on in. And then his dreams are shattered when Roy walks in and plants a kiss on her face. He's like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go to bed.
Oh, man.
I'm going to go
I'll
to bed.
just jerk off on the couch again. Oh.
I was going to fuck that replicant.
Cuck porn, cyberpunk style. That doesn't happen. But it does get them to have an audience with Tyrell.
Yeah. This scene is amazing.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Very
fucking
Can we
cool.
listen to some of it between them?
Yeah, of course.
Hell.
We can get to the point where Roy gets up there and he really starts talking to him, calling him father and everything else. I want more life. Death, it's out of my jurisdiction. I'll put that up now. Let's have a listen, shall we?
Hell yeah.
It's a little bit loud, isn't it? Here we go.
I had in mind something a little more radical.
What seems to be the problem?
Death.
Death. Well, I'm afraid that's a little out of my jurisdiction.
I want more life, Father.
The facts of life. To make an alteration in the evolvement of an organic life system is fatal. A coding sequence cannot be revised once it's been established.
Why not?
Because by the second day of incubation, any cells that have undergone reversion mutations give rise to revertant colonies like rats leaving a sinking ship. Then the ship sinks.
What about EMS recombination?
I love that Roy is knowledgeable of such things.
Yeah.
Like he's been doing his due diligence to find out if there's a way.
Yeah.
And I think he ran into many dead ends, and that's why he goes to see Tyrell directly.
He does. This is essentially gobbledygook sci-fi talk. But if we jump ahead a little bit in this conversation, we can get to the real meat of this stuff. Let me fire it back up.
The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And you have burned so very, very brightly, Roy. Look at you. You're the prodigal son. You're quite a prize.
I've done questionable things.
Also extraordinary things. Revel in your time.
Nothing the god of biomechanics wouldn't let you in heaven for.
This music here is phenomenal.
So good.
That building synth sound is excellent. Also, I love that Roy knows he's done questionable things. That's the other thing that these replicants have. They know right from wrong on some level. Even if they can't always live that way. Because he says, I've done questionable things. He knows he has. He's certain. And I love that.
Yeah.
Because it gets back to how complete they are of an organism, as it were.
Yeah, they have morality, and he can choose to follow it or abuse it, which is really interesting.
Yep. And, well, he tells him, you were made as well as you could have been made. I've done questionable things, of course, and Tyrell is trying to, this idea of like, revel in your time. Okay, I'm going to crush your fucking head because you can't give me what I want. How's that for reveling?
Well, I don't have much time left to revel, goddammit. Help me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the compare and contrasting of these Coke bottle glasses that Tyrell's wearing and these perfect eyes that glow of the replicant as they look into each other's eyes. One guy through these thick-ass glasses, another through the eyes that he fucking designed. That's just cool.
And he destroys his eyes specifically, like gouges his
Goes
eyes
right
out.
for the
Like,
eyeballs.
it's fucking brutal. But it's such a great symbolic moment of like overtaking your creator and taking away their vision. Like,
Indeed.
that's intense.
In that, just the horror on his face, even as he does it. Of course, the horror on Sebastian's face, because he's there. If I'm not mistaken, in the Blade Runner verse, Sebastian lives here. But I think I read that somewhere.
Interesting. I thought he was a goner.
Well, yeah, I think he
I was like,
I was gonna say they say his body. They find his body.
I think they do say that in the movie, but I think he ends up surviving, kind of like Holden does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I guess this leads us to the third act. This leads us to the end of the end. Because this is the confrontation with Pris, which it's fine, it's okay, but really, really it comes down to this confrontation between, of course, Roy Batty and Deckard. This is really what this movie comes down to. And
I've got,
wow.
I've got one question I want to fire off at both of you. Because we have alluded to it a little bit, but we haven't really talked about it yet. And I still think we should just move through this scene and talk as we go. But the question of, is Deckard a replicant or not?
You want to talk about that now?
Well, I want to bring up one thing because I feel like you really see it in this fight. If he's a replicant, did they purposely make him a shitty, soft belly marshmallow man in comparison to fucking Roy Batty? Like, he gets his ass kicked.
He does.
He
does.
And I'm like, he doesn't stand a chance. Like, was the experiment for his replicant model to just be soft and weak? What is it like? Let's find out as a replicant.
It's funny. You can only go off what the movie's showing you, and it's not showing you a ton. It's giving you hints that he could, in fact, be. I was convinced that he was after seeing the final cut. I don't remember the other versions of the movie. And if I'm not mistaken, I think in 2049, they suggest as much that he is, but I don't even remember that, to be honest with you. The only thing I thought of is that he, with him, at one point he's plunking away on the piano and he's thinking about unicorns. And then for Gaff to leave the unicorn piece, these little cute clues, the matchstick man, the unicorn origami, he leaves outside of Deckard's door. That's a weird thing to do. Like, what a weirdo. You just left an origami outside my door. You didn't come say hi. You're in the neighborhood. You're just like, let me put this here.
See,
it's a weird move.
I think Gaff was watching him because he was a replicant. That's what I think. I think he was keeping tabs on him because they were sending a replicant to kill other replicants, and he didn't want him to go AWOL, and he kind of does.
But I'm trying to think of the utility of Deckard being a replicant if you're sitting where Tyrell's sitting, because we do see Tyrell interact with him, right? Mm-hmm. What did Tyrell make him like? It seems like a convoluted story to get there, but I do like the mystery of Gaff, and Gaff we see two images of unicorns in this movie. One is Deckard thinking, and one is him placing an origami outside his door like a fucking weirdo. Who does that? That raises a lot of questions for me to think, does he know something about this guy? What does he know he thinks about unicorns? And why does he? Is it a dream? Is it something he remembers from a false memory as a kid? A story somebody told him? Who the fuck knows? Yeah. But
is the unicorn his little like planted memory?
Yeah. Could it be there's only like 4 things you can make in origami and unicorns are one of them? I don't know dick about origami, man. I don't know.
Sorry, I wish I was better at this, but I only know how to make this and one other thing.
I only know to make 4 things, and it was time for the unicorn. But you didn't bring me a fucking egg sandwich, you weirdo. You work together. You just put it outside the door. You knew Rachel was here. It's just weird behavior. And I think the other part of it, him going there, there's a million interpretations, I'm sure, but maybe him going there and putting the piece of origami down he was trying to communicate, I know you're going to go on the run with this girl, and I'm fine with it. Go ahead.
That's cool, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be. It's something that's always been a strange little mystery to me. I never knew what to make of Gaff when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never could tell his allegiance.
Yeah. The according to Jake, the screenwriter says he isn't, but the director's got the final call, right? So if the director's putting shit in the movie to make you question that reality, and and even Ridley Scott himself, I don't even know. I can't remember. I'm sure when we covered this years ago, we looked into what Ridley Scott said. I don't fucking know. Knowing him, he's like, well, it's however you fucking interpret it, man. I don't fucking know.
I don't fucking know. Fucking don't question it, though.
Often screenwriters submit their work and it gets picked up, and the director's like, we're changing this shit.
Yeah,
that sucks, but that happens, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
scripts get changed by all sorts of people all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer, but it is. But I think that's the point that directors make. You know, I don't. And I know. I think in Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, I think he takes the test and passes, but that doesn't mean anything because maybe that's the point if he's so advanced. But that also is how. Back to your point, Matt. Just talking practicality, he can't fight. But maybe that's the point. Maybe trying to make him as human as possible is the point. Maybe you don't want him to know. If you don't want him to know, then you wouldn't have him have that. The second he employs that strength, he's going to go, I'm a fucking replicant. Like Rachel doesn't know she's a replicant until he just drops it on her like a ton of bricks. real tactful, by the way. You know?
That's a good point.
Exactly.
You'd want him to be as human as possible, so you wouldn't give him that super strength because he's not working on some colony somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Tough to say.
It doesn't. I could be wrong.
What are the pros and cons? What makes him a human versus what makes him a replicant? What does the movie show us?
Yeah.
What does it show us? A guy who has nobody in his life, a cop.
Yep.
Who's got nobody in his life, who hunts down replicants. We know nothing about his past. He's got no relatives. So if we're going strictly speaking from an evidence standpoint, we don't have a ton in either direction, as far as I can tell. But I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. As far as what we are shown of Deckard,
what do we see?
And the extent of his life, we see him alone in his tiny, shitty future apartment
really
on the
shitty.
97th floor of a building. By the way,
human behavior hurts his mouth. He drinks. I mean, he's acting. The evidence is that in his behavior, he's acting like a human being. But so does Rachel, from what we see of her.
Yeah,
but I don't
True.
know. I don't
especially before he says anything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can't. It's hard to just ignore what Gaff is doing, but also trying to get into Gaff's head is an exercise in futility. Who the fuck knows what he's thinking? We can only infer what he might be thinking or might be trying to say. We don't really know. Yeah. And that's what's so cool about this fucking movie. Yeah. I'm gonna say he's a replicant. No, I mean, how about that? There you go.
You're saying he's replicant?
Yeah, why not? Fuck it.
I'm gonna say he's human.
I like it.
Saying he's human.
I like it.
But
wait, the next question. Does it matter?
That's the real question, dude.
It doesn't.
I think that's the point of the fucking movie.
Honestly, yeah, I really think so.
That's the point.
Like, coming back at the movie this time, especially after 2049 and thinking about this movie again.
Yeah.
I think its real answer to that question is it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
And that's the radical concept at the heart of this movie, that at this point of sentience, they are so completely indistinguishable from humans that it doesn't make sense to not treat them like humans. And the lie of them being something otherwise is what holds up this society, because they need to be somehow inferior or bad,
yes,
or exiled in some way to make it justifiable for them to be second-class citizens that we can just treat however we want.
Exactly.
And so it's like, it's that belief that you got to get rid of.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so interesting about the arc of Deckard's character.
What a flourish for Tyrell as he dies, to not realize the Herculean humanitarian effort maybe he was engaging in, even though he sacrificed a few replicants along the way, which is, I told you so. Now you have to accept.
You must.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, this entire sequence is so
Wow.
good. And Roy is just entirely playing with Deckard.
The hunter becomes the hunted.
100%. He just has him on the run. He's just running around
The whole time.
Knowing-
Wacko.
the whole time, knowing he is like probably 10 minutes away from death.
Yep.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what a wild sequence.
Breaks his hand. I mean, geez Louise.
Fucks his hand up. Yeah.
Now they both got fucked up hands. and Roy at every turn has him. I mean, he doesn't kill him. He again, this is the moment where he punches the spike through his hand.
Oh, yeah. Because his hand is starting to not work anymore.
Right.
He's got like necrosis.
Yeah. Yeah. But this all leads to, of course, this incredible moment where, after running around, chasing each other, howling at the moon, Deckard's trying to get away, and he is looking at sort of the end here. He's lost his weapon. He's dangling by quickly fading strength. And he's contesting with something that's so beyond him physically that he really doesn't stand a chance anymore. And before he slips and falls to his death after holding on for as long as he possibly could, looking into the eyes of his would-be killer, instead, he is saved. And this gets back to my point earlier. Is he the martyr who went upon this violent killing spree? Maybe, but it's here where that idea is abandoned. And he talks about living in fear. That's what it's like to be a slave. Do you understand that?
That's
And he
such a
pulls
great
him
line.
to his salvation. He catches him actually on the way down and pulls him up and doesn't let him go. He doesn't thrash him. He doesn't kill him. He doesn't do anything of the sort, right?
No.
He's
Probably
more
because
human.
that's
Pulls
the
him up to
script.
safety.
But I
He's
like
more
to look at
human
it a
than
little
human.
deeper. I'm just fucking with you.
He's more
'Cause they
human
wrote
than
it that
human.
way, dude.
He's
Dude,
been
that's how the
hunted
script
by
is,
this
dude.
guy.
Of course not. That's why. Why? Because the script said so. But but this is very interesting story-wise.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it again, it's another time. I think it's the final confrontation for Deckard of being confronted with what are replicants and what is their nature. And the fact that a replicant would choose to spare his would-be assassin and save their life, have this act of like benevolence, basically.
Yes.
It really drives home this point of like, there is no difference. There's no difference between us. Why should Roy just have to live the oppressed life of a slave just because he was grown and not born?
Right.
Having the full experiences and the desires to live that he has, why treat him any differently?
Right.
And I think it's such a great moment of like tragedy in a sense of
is.
watching watching Roy have that famous line, the famous little monologue where he talks about all of his. Yeah, we should honestly
fire
just
this
play
fucker up. None of us are going to say it better than Rutger Hauer.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the 10-Hauser gate.
God, the music.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain. Time to die.
God damn that dove.
Dude, only Ridley Scott and John Woo get to use doves.
That's it.
That's it.
If you have
Those are the
a
masters.
director of another name and you're not doing a Mike Tyson documentary, I don't see one fucking pigeon.
None of them.
God damn it.
Oh, it's so good.
That is
so fucking
phenomenal.
good. Yeah.
And for so many reasons. The way that line is delivered is just incredible. He says it with such conviction. He says it with such realization that the life he's lived and the things he's seen is something that you can't possibly understand because of his existence as a machine, as a replicant. And in these moments, also Harrison Ford's great here too. Harrison Ford's looking at him completely shocked. Because think about this. You are declared kill on sight. He's killed all of the people that were your comrades. They're all dead. And he had you. He could have killed you. But instead of letting you pass into oblivion, because he sees his own time to die rapidly approaching, he's going to spare you that death that he could have inflicted upon you so easily. And in so doing, become more human than human on some level. And I think that is kind of beautiful, to be completely frank.
Yeah. And his monologue too, specifically, it's always stayed with me personally, I think, because of the way he's talking about his individual experience of reality.
Yes.
Is something that can't be taken away from him.
That's right.
Like, he was a slave, but he still got to have his own experiences, his own perception, his own memories. And it's sort of, I almost always saw it as an assertion of like, I am an entity, a being, and I get, I had a life.
I think
and
therefore
those memories are going to wash away forever, but I had a life.
Correct.
And I just think it's so good, so poetic. So I've never heard a better final word, a final death word.
Right.
Like, it's just so good.
Yeah. They Are Perfect is pretty good in Last Samurai.
Oh, that's true.
When,
that's also
when he's looking at the cherry blossoms, you're like, God damn, this movie's good.
Gonna make me choke up.
But but no, yes, it is. In it, he has humanity.
Mm-hmm.
To spare Deckard, it shows humanity. It shows mercy.
Yeah.
And
mercy that his friends didn't get from Deckard.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That wasn't given to him.
That's right. Yeah, Deckard would have blown him away if given him the chance.
Yep.
If he tosses that gun to Deckard, even after he pulls him off the roof, he might still shoot him. Which may make him more
and like
more human
when he's
than
saying like yeah right, that definitely does. But with like his saying that, like, you know, I was here, my memories matter, but they matter to me and only me. And once I'm gone, they're gone forever. All my experiences. And that's kind of weird because we all deal with that in some way or another.
Yeah.
Like we're assholes on the internet. So somewhere down the line, if we don't annihilate ourselves, someone will hear our voices long after we're dead.
Hopefully.
But
if my estate's still paying for the feed.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Fuck.
You know, and you get that chance to kind of be a little bit of immortal, hopefully, where people may hear about you or hear something long after we're gone. It's kind of compelling and kind of something to strive for. We all want not stardom, but we kind of want to not be forgotten. That's really shitty.
It's a great point.
Don't worry, boys. ChatGPT is going to stitch together a version of our voices from all the thousands of hours of our recorded content. We're going to live forever.
You ain't kidding.
Making dick jokes into infinity.
Yep. With only a 50% landing rate. Still. Even with AI assistance.
Still winging them.
No, but back on a serious topic, it is... it's a fantastic line, and it is a reflection of experience and a memory of experience, and thus it's showing that he has a perception of his own life. He is what he is the sum of his experiences on some level, and it can't be taken away from him, to Matthew's point. But not just that, in his ability to reflect upon that and realize that he is going to be merciful. You know, you're talking about, you know, 100 years from now when we're gone and all the shit and our voices are out there. Are they out there, and B, does it matter? I don't know. I don't think too deeply about it because I'm more concerned with, as much as I like to make dick jokes and fuck around, I know that there are a lot of people that look up to LSG Media, and I think that's a weird reality to contend with. And in doing so, you sometimes realize that you hope that you are saying something and leaving words behind that can inspire somebody for something, anything. It could be a new way of thinking. It could be laughing through a dark time. It could be anything. And without getting too existential about all that, as it relates to Roy, I think Roy is leaving something behind in his death more than he realizes in the moment, because the moment of his death is quite beautiful, and it's this. He showed mercy. Deckard will never be the same.
Yeah.
Deckard is a man who's alive or replicant, who cares? Doesn't matter. What matters is he's not going to go blow Rachel away. He's going to take Rachel and run off, and they're going to have a life of some sort. And you could argue some of that is done right here because of Roy. And what that means for the future of replicants in the Blade Runner universe because of Roy's decision to not murder him, to go against his programming. This is a Star Trek theme. To go against your programming, to make a choice. What does that mean? He's a killing model. He's trying to be free. He knows he's dying. He's out. I just want to live. But I think in the scenes leading up to Tears in the Rain soliloquy, we realize that Tyrell has given him terrible news, and he doesn't take it well. He hangs his head down. He's very sad. There are a lot of moments where he has childlike expressions on his face, and I think that that's a brilliant decision by Rutger Hauer to make his character seem childlike, because we know that that's kind of how they are when it comes to emotion. And in getting that news that there's nothing I can do for you, in that he realizes perhaps mercy is the answer. He saves the guy so he can say the thing to the guy, maybe not even realizing what he was going to do by saying what he said, thus in death having a lasting effect on somebody else. And we all hope that we have a lasting effect on other people when we're gone. On some level, I think we do, be it through your children or through your influence and what you've been able to say or do or make people think or consider that they haven't before. And goddamn, what a way to do it than to spare your sworn enemy who's trying to kill you in a moment where you could easily just drop his fucking ass for killing all your friends. But no, you don't do that. I don't know if I could do that. If he killed 5 of my friends who were trying to escape, I'd fucking say, I'd step on his hand, I think. But what does that do? I don't know. Maybe it just creates more violence down the line.
Exactly.
Who's the one who fucking says, no, enough is enough, I'm done? It's a goddamn robot.
What is the point of killing Deckard at this point? Like all it could do for you is satisfy the feeling of revenge, or maybe I got
justice.
Revenge.
But at what cost?
But exactly, and think about the much longer effect, the positive effect that Roy's words and Roy's death changing Deckard the way it did and motivating him the way it did. How much bigger and deeper of a change in reality that meant, that act, because that's what I think is so interesting, to see such a pure act from a replicant, like it really is. And to end the movie really on that kind of moment, and to let us linger with what that means for him and Rachel, is just so fucking strong.
Indeed. Roy asks him so many questions leading up to this. Are you a good man? Policeman. The way he uses that word "men" a few times in the script is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Sneering.
I'm going to direct your attention to an interview by radiotimes.com called Rutger Hauer Dissects His Iconic Tears in the Rain Blade Runner Monologue, written by Hugh Fullerton, published Thursday, 25th July, 2019. I highly recommend checking it out because that's him. He trimmed the shit out of that thing. And he's always talking about how writers overwrite. I couldn't agree more. and we see that a lot. And he says, the overwritten stuff comes from the writer and all the execs, but the audience can feel it. And even the best actor cannot sell me with the language that's overwritten. I'm fucking allergic to it, he says. He goes on to say, in Blade Runner, Ridley gave me all the freedom because he wanted it to be a character-driven story. He'd never done a film character-driven. He said, this is what I want to do. Bring me anything you can. Come up with it. I'll take it on if I like it. And that's when Hauer's like, yeah, I trimmed it back. And he never regretted it, even though that's what people would ask him about when they would meet him all the time. And he said the reward was so long. If people think, do you get tired of this? No, of course not. It's amazing. All I did was write one line. I edited it and came up with a line. That's the poet in me. That's my poet. I own him. And then for the line to have such fucking wings, can you imagine what that feels like? Pretty believable, I bet, says the writer in question. But no, I recommend giving that a full read. It's fantastic and cool to see. Again, last time we talked this movie, Rutger Hauer was alive and well. He's not anymore. So R.I.P. to a fantastic dude who I hope is starting to get the credit he deserves as somebody who's just a joy to watch every time you see him.
Yeah. He's always magnetic.
Yep.
Compelling actor.
He's great, dude. And one other thing for the David Bowie fans in the room. When David Bowie's half-brother, Terry Burns, died by suicide in 1985, the note attached to the roses that Bowie, a big fan of Blade Runner admittedly, sent to his funeral, it read, quote, "You've seen more things than we can imagine, but all these moments will be lost like tears washed away in the rain. God bless you, David."
Damn.
Wow.
Fuck. Pretty intense.
Damn.
Good shit. So, this is the meta shit. This is meta, because we think about, in the story of Blade Runner, what effect did this have on Deckard going forward? I don't know. But holy shit, a fucking movie line had an effect going forward, didn't it? When one of the greatest and most unique, unquestionably, artists of all time uses it in that capacity, fuck, man.
Yeah.
A thing that Rutger Hauer went home with and was like, well, I guess I'll fucking write this line. And the way it's just delivered in this movie, it's, fuck. That's great.
Yeah.
What
you
a
know
great
what they
movie.
say, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
It's true.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that is, as they say, that's Blade Runner.
Such a good movie.
Such a great movie.
So
a phenomenal bookend to Matthew's career as a podcaster with LSG Media. And you crushed it, buddy. It was fantastic. And I know that if you're not a member, this will probably be the last time you hear Matt for a long time. I'm sure he'll be a guest on the show again. If you are a member, you're in luck. We're going to sit down with Matt again. We're going to just bullshit and talk to him a little bit, reflect on his time at LSG Media, bid him adieu, give him a handshake, say goodbye. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. So we look forward to to snatching you up one more time. We knew this was going to be a deep, lengthy episode. We're probably getting close to 3 hours, although we got a fucking 10-minute mess in there with the video fucked up, which we'll edit on the final product on YouTube and, of course, on the pod. But, Matthew, you're a phenomenal podcaster. LSG Media will not be the same without you. You're very good at your job, and you can't be replaced. You are a unique individual, and you've kept us doing this for a long time. I don't think I would have lasted 9 years without you by myself. So take a chance, guys. Take a fucking chance. Do the thing, because you might not be here tomorrow. You might be up on the roof letting a dove go before you know it. So if you think you want to take a shot, send a voicemail to somebody, see if you can get on a show, do what you got to do. It takes fucking guts to do that. And even though I know Matthew will not be replaced, I have confidence that LSG Media will survive, because I'm too dumb to quit. And I think we got the right people in place to try to carry the torch for Matt, which will be heavy, but we're up to the task.
It's hard.
And you've been a good influence on the show and on me, and I know you've said the same about me. And yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that we have grown together. And anyone who's been listening to the show for a long time will understand that that's the case. And because Matthew understands that the Grim Reaper's coming for all of us, maybe he should really start taking writing seriously, which means a directed effort. And I respect that decision. I love you, buddy. I look forward to hanging out with you in a much less official capacity next week. We'll have some drinks. We'll tell some fucking stories. I think we'll play a couple of clips from old episodes. I'm not going to go crazy with all that, but I just want to talk to you and have fun. It'll be a good time.
Same.
But you will forever be missed. You know, like at the round table, Lancelot's not going to be here, but we'll fill our cup. We'll fill his cup to show our honor for him anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just leave a blank screen that says Matt. We can't do that. Listen, I'm trying to sell a fucking product here. I can't look like shit, so I can't do that. But
it's just a single candle glowing in it for the entirety of the podcast. Like I fucking died.
The eternal flame.
Playing Vangelis in the background. Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's it. And go ahead. I'll shut the fuck up.
Oh, no, you're good. The last thing I want to say, and it's not much. I feel like I've said a lot of what I wanted to say when I first, announced that I was, leaving LSG and not going to be a regular on the pod. The only thing I just want to emphasize, man, is just that getting to meet both of you, getting to discuss something I love with both of you, which is film, which is fucking cinema, getting the chance to have that outlet and have friends that I can do it with, people I actually fucking like and care about and whose opinions I respect, and learning about film together and learning how to talk about it together and put something out there that people, for some fucking reason, man, actually enjoy listening to. It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
And it's something that I don't take for granted at all. I think it is a super unique experience that I am so profoundly, deeply happy that I took a chance and reached out to Dean and became a part of this and built a community and came as far as we've come. And it's been a total fucking joy. It's been one of the deepest joys of my life. And I will never regret it. I will always love this community. I will always love the people I've met here. And I'm not going away. I know I've been saying that to people on social media, and it's absolutely true.
Yep.
Not going away. You're going to see me around in the groups.
Hey.
I'll be popping in and
You
out.
getting choked up, you little pussy?
A little bit. Hey, a little
pussy.
bit. There's fucking tears over here.
Fucking throw him under the bus, you son of a bitch.
Fucking weak ass. I'm totally joking. I've been on fucking suicide watch for 2 weeks trying to figure out what we're doing here, so you're fine.
Oh, fuck.
Love you, Maddie.
Love you guys.
If it
Love
wasn't,
all you guys.
if I didn't continuously point out the obvious thing in a room that everyone's ignoring, I wouldn't be me. But I appreciate everything you've done, man. You've helped me build something incredible, and there's been quite a few people who've helped along the way. And I appreciate your contribution. It'll be there. It'll be, maybe someday in 10 and 20 years, God willing, you listen back and you'll be like, God damn, That's fucking crazy. So much love. I'm sure we'll wrangle a guest spot out of you now and again. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to Mars for some off-world terraforming shit. But you should probably listen to Andy Smith in the chat. He's like, there's a lot of writing options in Hollywood right now. Go be a scab. It's a fucking great call.
That's my legacy.
That's a smart man, Andy Smith. Listen to him. He's wise.
Shit. Oh, fuck.
God damn.
Beautiful.
Well, you're the man, and we'll see you for a little casual, fun time hangout. It doesn't have to be this fucking crying horse shit. We'll see you, and yeah, much love, brother. You know I'm a phone call away.
Thank you, brother.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in to Matthew's final official episode of LSG Media on the Lost Driving podcast. He'll be on the after hours next week. We'll be getting together. Stay tuned. We'll post. That'll probably be a Discord only type of sitch for members. But yeah, thank you. Thanks, brother, and thank you to the listeners. And I appreciate the listeners. I know. Look, I'm not fucking stupid. I know that there's a lot of listeners who haven't said much about this, which means I know you're cautiously optimistic or cautiously pessimistic, and I get it. But I can assure you, trust me, trust the process. I've been here for a long time. You've seen the determination when things go awry. That with lots of support from people that love me around me, we push on fucking through, and we're going to keep doing the same. So stick around. There's good things coming from LSG Media. I can assure you that.
Hell yeah.
And that's that.
Absolutely.
We love you guys very much. We'll see you soon in a week's time. Stay tuned for August programming. It's coming. I'm just going to let slip that we might be talking about a big scary fish in the water for the end of summer. So, and a couple other things we got cooked up for August. And and at some point, Scott and I are going to discuss via bonus. We're going to talk about the feedback we got, which was phenomenal. So we'll get into all that, talk about some future programming and some ideas we have kicking around. So, all right, for real, goodbye. For real, goodbye this time. All right. Much love, guys. See you later. Catch ya.
You've been listening to The Lost Drive-In from LSG Media. Don't forget to visit us on the web at lsgmedia.net. That's lsgmedia.net.